go blind.
Get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the SAP. It's your boy Dave Neal, the Sex Actually podcast with your co-host Tasha Courtney.
Hello.
We're about to introduce our guest, but I wanted to welcome all of our new audience members. Hello, welcome to the community. The SAP, Sex Actually podcast, is a conversation amongst myself, Dave, and my girlfriend Tasha. And we talk about sex, dating, love, relationships, and bring on our favorite comedian guest friends and self-help gurus to hear about their lives and how they fucked up and got to where they are today. And usually they give us relationship therapy. Does that sound good? Does that sound all right? Let's jump right into it. I liked that intro. That was fine, right? You're criticizing me with your eyes. No editing required. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, our guest for this episode, which I believe is 338.
Wow.
Am I right with that? 338? We got to find the numerologist to figure out what that means. Give it up for Jess Mulder, everybody.
Whee!
Hello.
Thank you for being on the show today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Now I'm worried it's not 338.
Who cares?
Can I be wrong? Doesn't matter, right? I have my thing with me. I'm going to check. So, Jess, we. Oh, by the way, I want to cheers to you, but I haven't poured myself a wine yet. I like to do things on the air. I feel like it's better. I feel like the audience. Here, hold on. I got to get a good audio of it.
Oh, wow.
Jeez, you can't pay for that kind of audio.
Lug.
I see you've already poured yours. Cheers to both of you for joining us today.
Cheers.
Tasha could barely get out of bed. She was like the grandfather from Willy Wonka, the chocolate factory.
Today I only came alive an hour before you were set to arrive, and I was like, whip this place into shape.
I'll be honest. I never knew how much shit goes on in a woman's body before. Once you get to your ages, I'm not saying your ages, but your ages.
Well, a woman of any age, actually. Vaginas are complicated, and it doesn't help that doctors don't take vagina pain seriously. And just women's health in general, because I feel like Dave could show up to the doctor and be like, "Oh, my right ball hurts," and they'd whisk him into surgery immediately.
But that's not my fault.
It's not your fault, but it's just it's just a problem in the United States.
It's very true. They always make you think that you're overreacting. They're like, "Okay, sure, you're having a big issue." Eye roll.
Yeah. I was just reading a story today, and I don't even remember what the girl had wrong, but it was PCOS. She had cyst on her ovaries that had ruptured, and they sent her to get her appendix removed because they thought it was a waste of time to do the ultrasound. And luckily, on the way, the nurse that she was with waiting for surgery that night was the only female she had interacted with, and was like, let's get you an ultrasound.
That's a lawsuit, dude. That is a lawsuit.
Well, female gynecologists should be female, so you wouldn't have a mechanic who doesn't know what a Toyota Corolla drives like. You wouldn't have him fix your Toyota Corolla.
You would think so.
They say that statistically, women doctors are naturally more empathetic than men doctors, but that's just not always the case. And I feel like I read a different story. This was on a Reddit thread earlier, and I don't even remember what the topic of the thread was, but it just so happened that 2 of these type of stories came up. And the woman, she had just left a Yelp review for her gynecologist of 15 years, right? And she said, at first I thought this lady was wonderful, but 15 years later, after X, Y, and Z things all going wrong and her always brushing it off and not doing any further investigation, I've had it up to here, and I would rather have a fucking lumberjack as my gynecologist if they could just show a shred of empathy.
Right.
I don't know. My gynecologist is a man, but it might be time for me to find somebody who can help me.
It's weird going to the gynecologist with you, knowing there's a guy with little forceps prying open your vag or whatever they do.
Is he really old? Because I used to always have women. I just got a guy, and I like him a lot, but he makes a lot of jokes. He's teaching me about things I already know. He's like, "Didn't you learn that in medical school?" He's just always making little jokes, and I'm like, "This is funny, but it's awkward because you're in me right
Look,
now."
I don't want to.
Don't make me laugh while your hands in my vagina, please.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to dig deep into the topic here, but that was a pun. Okay, so no one's with me. But what do they do? What are they looking for?
Normally they take a sample, which is basically it's an extra long.
They're in your vagina. They're in your vagina.
Yeah, they open it up
and they put it's called a septum, right?
Forceps.
Forceps is how they rip out babies, or not rip out, but pull out.
Christ.
No, what is it called? It's not a septum. A septum is that piercing.
Yeah.
What is it?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It holds open your vagina, and they basically stick a long ass Q-tip in there, and they like swab you, and that's how they check for cervical cancer, and that's why you're supposed to go once a year.
And chlamydia, gonorrhea.
Yeah, STDs
Yeah.
and stuff.
Does it hurt to go to the gyno? Do they?
It feels weird. It's like
It's
like,
very cold.
At any point,
Right?
is
Isn't
it?
it like
it's
it's
cold.
cold in there?
Yeah.
Like all the tools are cold.
I'm asking questions for all of mankind because I don't think anyone in the history of mankind has asked these questions. But is it like, do you get turned on? Is there any
No.
element
there-
like?
yes, underneath the fluorescent lights on my back with my feet in these little cups.
But if I had a female doctor who like was acute, whatever, and she's like warming up
Like
her
biting
hands.
his lip.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I had in college, all of my doctors were Indian women, and which is the only reason I can only come to Indian porn now, and curry. And no, in high school,
People don't understand that he's trying to make a joke, and we're all just sitting here rolling our eyes.
No, I think they do. I think they get it.
Go ahead, just finish
and then,
your statement.
And then before that, my pediatrician there was a female doctor. So like in my formidable years, I had to. Did I say it right? In my formative years, I had to go before my dick got to where it is today. I had to go to a female doctor, and they would like get up close. Sometimes they'd blow on it. They'd flick you in the nuts. They do a few different things. They'd cough on. You'd have to cough and turn a certain way. I mean, yeah, there's like very. And I'm like, what are we doing here? But also, I don't want a full-grown woman who my mom knows to be, touching my things.
touching your winky.
Yeah, but that's just, I don't know. I guess you just have to go do it. I don't know. But you'd think that maybe if you had a burly John Hamm type gyno that, you could be attracted to that, going to see him.
I'm pretty sure that's probably like against some code of ethics or something for you to like date your patient.
Maybe. Or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how it works when you're
I think it would be pretty
knuckles deep.
pretty unethical for
Yeah,
sure.
that would be cloudy.
But also, I still just am weird about men that become gynecologists. I'm like, why would you do this? Because you get to see the grossest part of the vagina, and you don't get like, it's not like somebody waited and made sure to manicure everything and like is all clean. Like you have to see the grossest stuff. Like what is the appeal?
vagina in whole is disgusting. I think men are more attracted to labia or the idea of a closed vagina that has potential,
hole
like a
and just
vagina with
like
potential,
like a Barbie vagina.
Yeah, not as I mean, you want to know that the hole's there. You don't want it like sealed up like some Chernobyl accident. You just want like, I don't know. Everyone's different. I don't want to vagina shame. I'm just saying, of all the organs in the body, vagina is not winning. Cutest organ in my book. That's all. I'm an eye guy.
I would agree with you about that. But
Yeah, and that's why, like, as a guy, like, you don't even know what you're going to see. I always said before, I used to think a vagina was directly below the belly button, directly below, and then you wouldn't get there yet, and you'd be like, where the fuck do they put these things? They're below you, really. They're so close to your asshole, which makes sense because the dick is too. But I never would have known how close the vagina and the asshole are. You know what I mean? Anyway, hey folks, this is the Sex Action Podcast. So Jess, I want to make it clear. I worry sometimes when I think I'm really good friends with someone, but they don't reciprocate. I think Jess is one of the like. If I was told that we were like twins lost at birth, I would be like, fuck yeah, Jess, because I think you're like the closest comic that is like my bro.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree with that.
Okay, I know I'm not trying to, because I'm not trying to, I mean, you might not like me. You know what I mean? You might be like, which is,
he's like putting all of this on you.
Yeah.
Like, you really like me, right?
I
You really
wouldn't be
like me.
here if I didn't like you. But
well, it took 338 episodes. So I'm just saying, I'm just treading lightly here to say that you're probably someone who I like so much that I don't even know that well, because I really don't know you that well. I got a lot of I have a lot of questions for you.
because we've never like hung out like bros except for like at comedy shows and things, and we're not really talking much there because we're listening.
And
But-
just self-hating is pretty much what we're
Yeah.
doing. Yeah. And by the way, congratulations. We're looking at the best actress of the Portland Comedy Sketch Festival or whatever it's called.
Wow.
Doesn't even know what it's called. My best friend over here.
Voted best actress by a
Panel of people in Portland.
So you
So
should.
cool.
So
Exciting.
were you like, now if you go back to Portland, will the streets be stopped for you? Are
Oh
you like
yeah,
a big deal
red
there?
carpets every corner for sure.
Paparazzi.
Yeah, just paparazzi. Like
Can't even eat a pizza in peace.
Yeah, I needed a bodyguard. It was getting crazy.
Now
out
I
there.
played Jess's husband or whatever. I don't think it was
Boyfriend,
even defined in the sketch, but I didn't get any credit credit, but I think you can only be
Dave's
as good
mad.
as the palette you're painting on. Do you
He's
know what I
like,
mean?
I'd like to hope that I supported you. I'm like, you did. Everybody in it made me able to do it.
No, but it's good because you wrote it, so it's good that you wrote the project. So of
Yeah.
course you got to Best Actress your writing, which is good. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What are you doing in LA? We met out here 3-4 years ago. What are you doing here? What brought you here? You're a Floridian. Why are you here?
I came here for comedy and to, write and make shorts and sketches like the one we were in together is really my goal out here. It's like I always kind of had this goal to get over here when I started doing stand-up in New York, which was right after college, which I never really thought I would do, but I always was interested in stand-up. It just seemed like something that was like, oh yeah, that's just like other people do that. I don't do that. I grew up in like a businessy type family. So anything like that, like in entertainment was like a hobby. So I almost started doing stand-up by mistake because I lived in New York, and then I really liked it. And then I was like, oh, I want to go out to LA just because New York is so fucking cold and I couldn't handle it anymore. And so I just came out here, started doing it, met you, and now I'm the best actress. So I think I succeeded. I think I'm done.
That's the episode, everybody. We
Retired.
figured it. Did you go back to Florida after New York, or did you go straight New York to LA? And what year were you in New York?
I moved to New York in 2008, end of 2008, early 2009, when I graduated from college in Central Florida. And I just I was going to be a lawyer because that's what businessy raised people do. You have to do something like that. You'll definitely have a job. But then I graduated and was like, I don't want to do that. So I just moved to New York. And I was there till about 2012 until me and my ex moved. We were going to come here, but his sister was really sick. So we moved to Pennsylvania, which was supposed to be for 6 months, but then it turned into 3 years. So I actually took 3 years off.
Okay, pause. So you're in New York with your current boyfriend. You're with not your current. I'm sorry. At the time, your boyfriend.
Yeah, at the time, my boyfriend.
And you both had agreed to move to LA.
Yeah.
And then
Because he was an actor and did stand up a little, and so we were gonna write and perform and stuff out here.
And then 1 week turned into 2, and you just all of a sudden were in Pennsylvania for 3 years.
Well, yeah, it was his sister got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she was really sick and went into remission at first, and then she started getting worse again, and it got to one of those situations where it was oh no, this is going to be really bad. She's on her way out, because it kind of goes like this with cancer. So she was looking like she wasn't going to make it after a few months. So we moved back home with his parents, and we're just going to kind of help out, spend time with her and stuff like that, and then save up a little money during that time and then move to LA. But she would start to get better, and then it was okay, we'll start to plan to go, but then she'd get worse again. So it became one of those things where it was how do you decide to move across the country and leave your sibling who might die at any minute when you don't know if you could make it back, because it was so up and down.
Yeah, it's a shitty time to go start pursuing your own ventures across the country.
So it turned into 3 years when it was just supposed to be a few months, and then eventually she did die. So then we were let's go. Yeah, it was real.
How old was she?
She was 25.
Oh my God.
So you moved out here with your boyfriend at the time?
Well, he was my husband then.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure if it was the same guy. So
Yeah.
you got married in Pennsylvania?
Yeah. Well, it was weird because our relationship was always a little tumultuous, and we started dating in our 20s and then dated into our 30s. And after I guess going through something that big with somebody, it kind of brings you a lot closer together. And once she did die and we moved out into our own apartment, we were still kind of in the area for a little bit longer. It was what was a really bad relationship, which you couldn't really tell because everything's terrible. So when the relationship is terrible, it's oh, of course it's terrible because of this, once we moved out, I guess our relationship got so good, and I never expected this, but he proposed to me and I was oh shit. And then what do?
You weren't ready for it?
No, not at all. I never thought I thought he was the type of guy that would never do anything that he said he was going to do. So that's why I picked him, obviously. So I was I will never have to get married.
Where did this take place?
He proposed to me in Florida on a trip, but we were still living in Pennsylvania. And it was in front of my family and everybody on film. And so I was
Jesus Christ.
I was shaking for 45 minutes after it. Because not only did I think he was kidding during it, that I was get up. But then when he was serious, I was oh my God, I don't expect this at all. And what do you say? We've been together for years.
Did the thought of saying anything but yes cross your mind? Or you just hoodwinked?
I kind of just wanted it to be over. So because like everybody was looking and it was really stressful because I don't like that sort of stuff, you know? I would have loved a private thing for sure. But
how wild is that? Engagements.
Yeah.
Public.
It was so terrifying.
A lot of
and out of
pressure.
nowhere, like normally you know it's coming, you know? And like, I guess, I don't know, but yeah, I don't think I would have said no just because at that point you're with somebody for so long. Like our relationship was good at the time. So in my head, I was just like, well, I could always get divorced if it doesn't work out. But, you know, shit or get off the pot. So I just definitely said
Yeah,
yes.
it's like if you're not walking away from the relationship in the first place,
Right.
it's kind of like,
Right.
okay, I guess we're
Yeah,
going to
but
keep moving forward.
But I think like what was so surprising to me was like we just started having a good relationship again like 6 months ago. You sure you want to like just do that? But I mean, we'd already been making plans to move to LA, so it's like it made sense. But I didn't think that like that was the thing we were gonna do. So
there was no preemptive talk about an engagement?
no, I mean we'd talked about it over our relationship, but like we'd broken up so many times, and like it seemed like we weren't really compatible overall to make it to the end anyway. So
Why were you staying together? Just like comfort, you
well,
think?
yeah, it was comfort, but then there's also like there's always like a good side to a relationship that isn't good, you know? So like we definitely had a lot of things in common and we did get along, but like as far as the just stuff where you feel secure in a relationship and you kind of don't have doubt and you're like, this is my person that I know, I don't have any doubt. I don't doubt their commitment to me. Like I always doubted his commitment to me. And
so trust issues.
Yeah, trust issues. And like, you know, he gave me reasons for those. So when he made that leap, I was like, oh, you know, wow, like that's huge. Like he used to, you know, at certain times, like not want to like show me affection at a party, like commitment wise. So I'm like, very surprising to me that you would put a ring on my finger and propose to me in front of a bunch of people. But again, after being together for years, I'm like, oh, we've grown, we've changed. And then, you know, not so
when you
much.
talk about trust issues, was it like a day-to-day thing? Like, where were you? Are you coming home? Or is it jealousy? Or was
No.
it big picture? Like you said before we started, was this the relationship that with infidelity? Or was
Yeah. And it was kind of like throughout our relationship, like in New York, it wasn't like a day-to-day thing where I was like, where were you? That sort of stuff. Like, cause I'm a pretty, you know,
Chill
relaxed.
person.
Yeah. I'm pretty chill and laid back. Like just don't lie. But like it was almost like when things were good, they were really good. And then when they were bad, it was like, I just, you know, you get that like feeling where you're like, something's not right, you know? And it was sort of like, if we were not doing well, then he would be doing things that were shady and I could tell and I would bring it up. And then I would almost be told like that I was crazy and like, you know, that's crazy. What are you talking about? You're just crazy, blah, blah, blah. Or just blaming it on me. And then like,
Gaslighting.
yeah, gaslighting. And like that was the thing in Pennsylvania was like, I remember feeling like this isn't right, you know, like other than the fact that he's, you know, going to the gym for hours at a time. I'm like, what are you doing at the gym for hours? And like not really getting thinner. So
blowing a guy in the sauna? That's what I would be.
And I just remember just being like, what is this? And I even remember in Pennsylvania being like, maybe you don't need to be in a relationship because when things were hard, instead of being like, we worked through this together, it was like, everything's my fault. You know, we shouldn't even be together. But then I try to leave and it's like, no, don't go. So it's that very like crazy sort of thing, and then gaslighting like you said. So
did you take out any sort of did you try to follow him or do any
No.
research, or how did you know he was cheating?
well, I found out later because he told me, but like when we were in Pennsylvania, I didn't like, I'm not like a person that looks through someone's phone and things like that because I feel like if I'm doing that, like that's a breach of trust.
Well, it's already broken if it's
Right.
gotten to the point where you have to do that.
Right.
I just looked through my phone.
Right.
When
I don't know. You definitely have looked through my phone.
I have looked through your phone one time. I don't even remember what it was about.
Ah, you did. There you
Yeah,
go.
I don't
Anyway,
remember what it
But
was
I
about.
think like to that point, it is like if you're feeling like you need to do that, then you kind of already know, you know. So I knew deep down, and I just felt like if there is proof, it'll come out. But two, like he would do things that made it so obvious, like he'd get like special screen covers that you couldn't see what was
From
going
the
on from the
side,
side.
yeah.
And I'd be like, why do you need that? And then he'd be like, what do you mean? You don't trust me? I'm like, no, because like nobody needs that. Like who cares?
Yeah.
And like like switching to an Android phone because there's like better like ways to hide photos and lock your phone.
I mean,
and
you
shit.
don't want. There's always gonna be something you don't want people to see, but you don't want to be the one who's like I always joke around. If you have your phone face down,
Yes.
your relationship's just not ready yet,
Right.
You know, and it's fun like on stage because you'll see people, everyone in the audience will put their phone on the table, and some
Yeah.
people are playing their cards face down and some up.
Yes.
and it's really about where you know, and what's I'll say is about Tasha is that she never she would just leave her phone out. And I'd be like, you really just gonna leave your, like early on in the relationship? I was like, really? Like early on in the relationship, I still had people hitting me up. I'm not saying they were trying to fuck me, but like girls would still be messaging me that don't anymore. You know what I mean? They would just randomly, whatever, see what's going on, and then those people just have gone away. But like, I always operated under the single, like as a single guy, thinking, I've dated. Put it this way: I've dated girls in the past that were jealous types, so I would project that jealousy onto Tasha. Would you agree that that's kind of how it was?
Yeah, totally.
And I don't think that's a rare thing. I mean, I'm talking like I'd have people. I would be afraid to take a photo with women at a comedy show because in the past that just would lead to some shit, Well,
that's not a good place to be in. But like to your point, like leaving the phone up, in the fact that she's doing it early on, I think that's like a good thing, because like if you have somebody that's always like hiding their stuff, then it's like, why do they need to do that? Like, do they not trust me? Why are they so worried about it? It's like my ex would like take his phone with him and his iPad in the bathroom, and it's like, what? First of all, I'm not going to look at it, but now I want to.
Yeah, like really? You have to bring your iPad to the bathroom.
I know, come on.
Yeah, like if you're going to cheat, at least get like an app that doesn't send notifications. Like I can't tell you how many dudes probably have gotten caught cheating because their iCloud synced some mischievous shit to like the iPad and the wife's at home being like,
yeah.
What's this masseuse Becky? You know what I mean? It's just, it's insane that what's probably out there.
But that sort of like suspicion or like keeping like very closely guarded secrets, it only breeds more of that. Like if I had noticed that Dave was weird about leaving his phone out, I absolutely would have done the same with my phone just for fun. Not because I had anything to hide, but just because it's like, all right, two can play this game. You want me to think that you're hiding something? I'll make you think that I'm hiding
our relationship started off actually on good bedrock with things like that. Like we started dating and sort of defined the relationship really quickly. So I don't think there was too many of those issues. But I mean, in the past, I've had a ton of open relationships where like not open so much as like they like open where I'm seeing other girls, they're seeing other guys, whatever. Like, let's see who catches feelings first. That's kind of the game you play in your 20s. Right. Who's going to catch feelings first? That person loses. That's just how it worked. Yeah. But like this was kind of like, all right, we both like each other and everything else. We had
also both been very open and honest about like our past relationships and the people we had been dating.
Yeah.
So before it kind of crossed that line from friendship into something else, I complained to you about plenty of dudes.
So you guys were friends first. Yeah. So that makes a difference too.
I didn't want to do any more. Yeah, I didn't want to know too much. Well, as soon as I started getting feelings for Tasha, I didn't want to know about any other guys. And I wasn't telling.
You have no past. That's it.
Well, I mean, it's weird. It's
think that's opposite weird. Like, don't do that.
So many people like want to share all of their history. And like Tasha has probably had to listen to a lot of podcast episodes of me, just talking about my past. And I kind of feel bad because I wouldn't want to hear her talk about her past. I don't want to hear about some guy she blew. But if I talk about girls that have blown me, yeah. And it'd be ludicrous to think that never happened. So it's kind of healthy for us. But like I come from that Catholic background where like, why the fuck you would never talk about any of that?
But like why talk about being blown on either end? Because like, what's the point of that? Like, you don't need the details.
For the podcast,
like that.
It's for the podcast. Yeah, it's not the nerds like I got blown. It's like it's attached to a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
there's
certain things that like there's a reason you want to share them. Like, I don't like this because I experienced this, and this is why you need to hear about it.
There are certain things you keep private because you know that the repercussions of your sharing is gonna be jealousy or hurt feelings or whatever.
Right. Like knowing like how many people somebody had sex with, I think is like something I've shared and people have asked me in the past. But like, I don't think that's a question you should have to answer because like, what good can come of it? Either like you're completely uneven, it's like or like you just. Now I need to know who they were, that sort of thing. It's just, I don't.
Yeah, and then you got like a board of headshots, and you're like, I know 3 out of the 38. Could it have been?
You've got your red string attached to the little pin marks.
Yeah, it's unneeded. Yeah. And anyway, so enough about me. So you suspected him, but that wasn't enough. How did the relationship come to its like?
Well, so basically, we dealt with the death and moved out, and then we got engaged, and then we had a great wedding. It was in Curacao. It was in the Caribbean.
Oh fuck yeah!
That's how you
Curacao.
knew how to say Curacao.
Oh, yeah, I'm from Curacao. Yeah, I was born in Curacao.
Really?
Yeah.
Curacao.
Is
that in Brazil?
No, it's off the coast of Venezuela in the Caribbean. It's the Dutch Caribbean, so it's a Dutch colony.
We have Curacao, the liqueur on the thing from did you come to the mimosa show?
Yeah, she was there.
Fuck
and that's why she was saying it, because neither one of us knew how to say it.
Oh, listen, you said, nobody knows how to say
audience,
it.
If you need to make green mimosas, you add blue curacao.
They'll
to
put this in their
orange
back
juice.
pockets for a
It is
year from now at St. Patty's Day.
the best way to make. I got so wasted that day. Anyway, so sorry
yeah.
about. You're from Curacao? What the fuck? Who's from Venezuela? An island off of Venezuela?
Well, it's called the Netherlands Antilles, so it's owned by the Dutch, right? So everybody knows Aruba, and it goes like Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao. And my dad is not American; he's Dutch, and he was born in Curacao.
You have a
Why
Dutch
is it
dad?
not-
What the fuck?
Yeah.
How do we not know these things?
Well, we did know this, actually.
We did?
Yeah, because she said it at the show.
Oh, I
He was too drunk. He doesn't remember.
Curacao.
Yeah.
So you're
what was the first one you said? Antigua?
Aruba, yeah.
Why is Aruba the place that everyone goes and not Curacao? Is
Just
Curacao nice?
Curaçao's nice too, but I think Aruba just got into tourism a lot better. It was a lot prettier just all around. I mean, it just was more of the hub of tourism than Curacao was. But Curacao is like getting real big and people visiting it too. But they're all like beautiful islands and people go to them. But yeah, they're all related.
So I know we're jumping around here. So born in Curacao, how did you get to Florida?
So my mom is from Florida.
Gotcha.
And like my parents met, like it's like the cutest story and so sad for people that are divorced. Like my dad's a pilot, right? And my mom, when she was 17, was like, you know what? I'm going to learn to fly planes. Like, what 17-year-old does that, right? So they both were flying and got rained out at the same airport in Miami, met each other in the lounge, fell in love.
They definitely fucked in that lounge.
Oh, man.
Fuck yeah, they did.
And
It's a
then-
Matthew McConaughey movie right here. I
Right?
love this.
And then she dropped out of school and like moved with this Dutchman to Curacao and then had 2 kids, me and my brother. And then they were married for 10 years. So like we, maybe they were married like 4 before they had us. And then they got divorced. And we moved first to Aruba with my mom. And then we moved to Florida because that's where her family's from. So
This divorce topic, we circle around to this, I think, a good amount. And I've been talking about it on stage too, about how like, I think that's one of the keys to a marriage is not being afraid of like the D word.
Yeah,
I'm not saying like fail at first sight because we've had so many of our own issues we've survived, but it's like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You get divorced. I mean, that's like the sad,
Right, but I think like worst thing that happens, you get divorced, but I think using the D word as like a tool in fighting
Yeah.
is like, don't do that. It's like breaking up with somebody like just to win the fight. And it's like, well, no, like
I
that's,
have
that's like such an instability creator in a relationship.
Exactly.
Terrible.
A couple friend of ours, they are not allowed to say the D word.
No,
they
you
like
can't.
made that promise to each other before they
Who's
got
that?
married. Not telling
Where do they live? The Santa Monica friends?
you. No.
Hollywood?
Stop trying to figure it out, Dave.
Brentwood. Yeah, I know who it is.
You don't know
It's
who
like,
it is.
whatever, either way, so
I was
did
waiting
you
for her
guys
tell to come out.
So but what about, I mean, in your case, how did you get to the divorce then?
Well, okay, so basically, like I had all these like questions and like instincts, which are women's instincts are fucking on point. Like everything that I was worried about, that I was told I was crazy, I was so right, but I didn't figure it out till like years later. So we move away from Pennsylvania, we move to LA, and everything's cool, and then we're married for like a year, and then on our 1-year anniversary, we go on a trip to San Diego, and my ex is like, oh, have you ever heard of this thing called Thrinder? And it's like a Tinder, but for like couples.
Threesomes?
Yeah,
for
I've
like
heard of it.
threesomes.
I've heard of that, yeah.
And like we're like drinking and we're like joking around. And I'm like, oh, whatever. Like at this point, like I don't think he's ever cheated on me. We've been through like hell and back. Where our relationship is good, other than like day-to-day stuff. Like he's not really working. I'm working a lot, and so I'm like annoyed by that. But it's like, oh, he's like a person that is filled with excuses and doesn't work as hard as I do. So I always like give other people slack because I'm a workaholic more than anything. So I'm like, well, maybe it's harder for everyone else, which is just bullshit, by the way. But yeah, so we mess around with this app, and it's like really fun because we're like communicating about it, and there's all these rules about like, we have to do this together. It's not something you can separately be like finding people.
How did he know you would have been? That's a hard thing to just float by, like Thrinder.
I think he was like,
you talked in the
we'd
past.
kind of been like talking about like different stuff like that, and it was, I'm pretty open to like try new things as long as I trust you and you're honest with me. So I found it interesting, and like I was like, I'll test it out. You don't know until you try something. But I was definitely really weary of it because I was like, I don't want it to feel like, one, I'm not good enough by myself, and two, like that you're doing this behind my back. And like, luckily when we were doing it, it was actually fun and like exciting. So I was like, oh, cool.
What was fun and exciting?
like looking
Finding
at
a person.
Yeah, like looking at the couples.
I'm just trying to capture all of this.
Yeah,
So,
but looking at the couples and
but actually doing Thrinder.
So it was swingers, like
yeah, well, because it's hard to find one person that's just like, sure, I'll come into your.
Yeah.
So
I hear
normally
it's hard
it's like swingers.
I hear it's hard for a couple to find the woman. For
Yeah, well,
female, an FFM, as you will.
They call them unicorns. That's what they call them. Uniforms.
Finding a woman who's willing to go into a heterosexual couple as that extra female.
Yeah, it just was like there weren't a lot of those out there. A lot of it was like couples looking for that. And like I wasn't really interested in like hooking up with another guy, but I was like, this will be fun to try out. And like so we like had talked to like a couple and ended up, going and meeting them for drinks and stuff. And like all the time, like we were on like a group chat with them. Like and all the time it was like, all right, everyone, we're even on this first date, we're not going to go very far because we're just getting to know each other. We're going to be very careful, like dipping our toes in the water here because like this could end in disaster and be like really cool and fun in theory. But when it comes to like actually doing it, it's like, fuck you.
So you're in a group chat with each other?
Yeah. And then
how funny. Group chats are so annoying when like there's one, and I can imagine in a group chat of sex.
But I mean, we're not like sexting, we're just like getting to know them. And then we end up going to drinks with them and then like hang out with them after at our place. And we're like having some wine and whatnot. And then like each of us start making out with the other person. And then out of nowhere, the dude like goes down on me and I'm like, ugh. Like that was not part of the rules, first of all.
Yeah, are you looking at his girlfriend?
No, like they're
who
like,
starts the first kissing anyway?
I don't even remember. I think
you just like go for it. I feel like
There's
because you got to break the
involved.
tension.
Is there no cocaine involved?
It's just alcohol, but like it was like moving at a good pace until like this guy did that, and then I was like, ugh. And then like I look over at his girlfriend and like she's mad, and so then I said something real awkward to ruin the mood, which I do.
Do you remember what you said?
Yes, I kind of like pull back and was like, so. When are we whipping out dicks and putting on condoms, huh? And everybody was like, ugh. And I was like, good.
That sounds like a thoughtful stepmother.
But it's just
we're gonna use safe sex, no?
But like, I really like personally was like, dude, I already said ahead of time, like, I do not want to do oral sex with somebody that I have not seen their STD tests because. Come on, what are you giving me down here?
Oh, that's actually like really bullshit then if you had said that ahead of time.
Yeah, I did. And I was,
so they knew too, not just your man?
Yeah, no.
But what was your man thinking having another guy going down?
He didn't care? I mean, I don't know. He was busy anyway, but like.
So you did you did like a clean swap.
Yeah.
Like you're making
we were like right next to each other.
You're making out with this other dude.
Yeah.
Your husband is making out with this dude's wife or whatever. Girlfriend. Yeah. So they're too busy, and then he just goes full muff down.
Yeah, and then it was like real awkward, and then they left like right away. And I remember like texting her and being like, "Hey, I just want you to know that like I didn't try to make that happen. I didn't really want that to happen, and I was pretty uncomfortable, but I just didn't know what to do. Like I was so in shock, and it happened so fast that I was like, oh God,
pussy paralysis.
Yeah, I just that's why I just like yelled out something awkward and unsexy, and it worked. And then and then like. She was like, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that because he was like blaming you for it because I guess they got in a fight once they left.
How could it have been your fault?
He was like, she made me like, please. Like I was like this, give me a break. Like, no, nobody made you do that. I did not want that. And
Tasha makes me do that. She'll put her head.
But not a stranger. Like I already said that I didn't want that.
Yeah. No, I can't get over this consent issue right here.
Yeah, no,
that's really fucked up.
But honestly, it's fucked up. But can you blame a guy who's maybe they've done it with other couples before?
Yes, consent is consent.
They hadn't done it with other couples, and that was the whole point why we were like making out was like the ceiling for that evening.
Yeah, we're just gonna test the waters here. Yeah. We're trying it out. We've agreed this is how it's going.
All right, so then you're off the group chat. You're just telling her.
I'm texting her, and then she's like, no, like that's not what we talked about. And then I come to find out like it was all his idea to do this stuff, and she didn't even really want to do this stuff. And I was like, well, it was kind of my ex's idea to do this stuff too, but like I was into it to a degree, but like not that. And yeah, we ended up, she and I stayed friends and she dumped her boyfriend. So that was fun. But like.
Then she went down on you.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Happy ending.
But no, so after that happened, we were fine because like we were just like, shit, that was weird, whatever. But
like, so I'm sorry to interrupt. Your boyfriend or your husband didn't care?
No, he was like, man, when I told him, I was like, I didn't want that to happen. He was like, yeah, that's no good. But like.
Yeah, them's the ropes.
But that was fun. Like, let's keep are you interested in searching this out?
Person.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, at that point, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to take a break because that was a lot. And this has taken a lot of effort, like a lot of effort, and you need to get a job, and you're spending so much time.
So this
on
And energy. Yeah.
This,
and I'm like, it was a lot of effort.
Couples retreat, as it were, was enough to like expose the fact that was like the straw that broke the camel's back with him.
Yeah, well, because for me, like I was like, I am not ready. I need to take a break with this, and then like he kind of like let that go, and then within like a couple weeks, he was like, I want to try this again. He's like, but I feel like if you knew this information, you wouldn't trust me and feel like you would want to do it anymore. And I was like, what information? In my head, I was like, he fucking cheated on me and he lied about it for years. And like, that's what ended up happening is he told me all upset.
Did he say this to you in person?
Yeah. He's like, remember when in Pennsylvania you were accusing me of cheating all the time? Well, I was. And I was like, you motherfucker.
Why did he tell you?
Because he thought, in his mind, I guess this is his reason. He thought that if I knew the truth, I wouldn't trust him to do this couples swinging thing, which is absolutely true. Like, no way would I trust you to not go behind my back if you'd had gone behind my back and lied about it for several years. Like, as now, not only you made me think I was crazy, but like, you can't be trusted. And you did it at the worst possible time. Like, when I'm like moving home and putting my life on hold, you do that. Like, who does that?
I wonder why, though. Is it like some self-sabotage? Like, why would he even tell you?
Maybe.
Yeah, because he could have kept it secret for years and years.
I think, and personally, I think that for him, maybe he was always kind of like wishy-washy like this, which is why I was so surprised about the proposal, is like maybe getting a taste of that made him be like, I kind of want to be single again. And he knew that I would like, divorce him. But even still, he wanted to work on it. And we did like try to go to couples therapy because my trust was like completely broken.
So the cheating wasn't enough for a clean divorce.
Well,
you're still kind of not wanting to.
Well, no, because at that point it had been years before. And even though I was like really upset and pissed, like he seemed sorry about it and seemed to want to work on it. And like at that point you're married, you're living in this place. So I'm like, well, I got to at least try to do it. Even though in my head, I'm like, I can never look at you the same again, but I will try to go to therapy and see if I can. And then I couldn't. And it got
How
worse
was therapy?
Anyway.
Like, what was that all about?
It was, it wasn't good. And that was the thing is like, I always thought like in the back of my head with relationships, like if anything gets terrible, you can just always go to couples therapy. But like, I think in order for it to work, both parties have to like take responsibility for what they've done and like really like work at it. And I just don't think that he was capable of understanding just the gravity of what he did and owning up to it over and over and over again. It was almost like, all right, I'm so sorry. I own up to it. And a couple days later, you should be over this by now, that sort of thing. And I'm like, what? Are you crazy? So it was just a lot of like arguing and like defensiveness and sort of just denial of like actually having done something wrong. And then just sort of like erratically acting immaturely to just make me be like, why am I even bothering if you're not going to work at this? So it really was just an indication going to therapy that this was not going to really work out, like because he wasn't capable of really taking responsibility for
or
it.
showing empathy.
He had no empathy about it. Yeah. If anything, everything was my fault, and like just like, yeah, it didn't make any sense.
Owning up to issues, whether it's a significant other, your parents, your siblings, friends, it really is the basis for like recovery from whatever your issues are. Like you have to know that you were somehow part of the problem. And I think it, and I'm not saying like, and by all means, like him cheating on you, like you didn't cause that. Like that's his own thing. It's just we all just it's a balanced equation. So like we're never perfect people, right? But if one person can sort of evolve and the other person doesn't, the equation's no longer balanced. So you both can start off like not knowing where your lives are going. But if you're like a workaholic, someone who's feeding your own plants, doing your own shit, and he's there just fucking some other chick, that equation's no longer a valid equation.
And also just like owning up to what you've done, but then like understanding that just because you admit something and ask for forgiveness, like you don't automatically get it. And two, you don't automatically get it in the way that you want them to give it to you. So it's like taking longer than 2 weeks to just get over it, or like still being upset about it in certain situations is like, that's normal and natural. And like the person who got hurt has to be able to heal at their own pace. And when the person that's apologizing is like, frustrated with how you're handling it, it's like, well, shit.
And I think it takes action too, not just like apology. Like what do words mean? Nothing.
Yeah.
I need action. I need like you to make up for what you've done or to go out of your way to learn whatever.
Right.
I want to see that you're actually taking initiative to like change things and make things better.
So do you immediately want to know who the lady is? is that part of the thing? Like, all right, if you're going to tell me you cheated on me, who was it? Like, or did you have any
Yeah,
sort of
no, I
question?
did want to know who it was because there were people I had in mind, but I also know that like I was only admitted to one, and it was like somebody that he'd met on Tinder and like taken on a couple dates, which was infuriating because I was
So
like,
he was on Tinder while that's a whole.
That's like a premeditated and like taking him on dates. Like I'm not even going on dates with you right
Yeah.
now, like that sort of thing. I'm like, this is bullshit. But like, you know, for me, like I didn't trust him and still don't. Not that it matters now, but like I was like, oh man, there's so many more situations and so many more people that I'm sure it existed, but you only admitted one
Yeah.
because that was enough to like break it. So.
Chances are it's never the only one. If
Yeah.
there's a one thing, there's a,
Oh, yeah.
So what do you do from there? You stay in LA, you go home?
Well, no, so we were like doing the couples therapy until he eventually quit it because he thought like the therapist was like anti him, which like I guess he was wrong. She
It's
probably
very
was,
victimized.
yeah. But yeah, like I tried to get him to move out because like we were just fighting too much, and I was like, this is like I can't even. I worked from home, so I'm like I can't handle this. You need to like move out. You know, he didn't. Like he was like I can't find a place. You know, whatever. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna move out. So I
That's
didn't.
such fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's such bullshit. But I didn't.
Don't
Better
why-
know you need
why
to
is
be the one
Tasha
to
looking
move
at
out if
me?
shit ever goes
Yeah.
south.
Here?
Yes.
Well, yeah, this is you lived here first. I
Yeah.
understand the rules to this place, but don't think that
Don't think you can just stick around because you can't find a place.
Yeah, no.
Tasha's
So,
like Tasha
terrible.
will link up to whatever female, like she'll take any female side over me. Like she's literally accusing me of cheating.
I'm right. So.
She's like, I'm now attached to your ex just by gender default.
I'm not saying you're cheating. I'm
You-
just
you
saying
better,
this is my
dude.
apartment, and if I say you gotta go, you gotta go.
I started some shit. I'm sorry.
So you decided to move
yeah.
out of your own place.
Yeah, and because I knew I was going to pay like half of the rent because like he went from being apologetic to very entitled like at the drop of a hat. So I was like, let me just, you know,
So wait, you moved out of your place and continue
it was
to
just
still pay?
No, it was just like temporary because our lease was going to end in a few months. So I actually was like, I'm not going to get another place in LA. So I moved to Holland for 6 weeks
What?
instead. And yeah, I went there and I rented like this little like art studio in this lady's backyard and just stayed there for like 6 weeks.
Where in
during the winter.
Holland? Were you in Amsterdam?
I was just outside of Amsterdam in this town called Ardenhout.
Arnhout's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I've never heard of
Cool.
Arnhout.
I was like,
I was gonna say, because your dad was Dutch. Did
Yeah.
you? Is that why you moved to Holland?
well, yeah, because like my dad had a friend of his there from growing up that kind of like knew his way around and helped me find that place. So like I had like somewhat of a family member out there, and I wanted to like practice my Dutch, which I used to know as a kid, but don't anymore really. And was just like, I've always wanted to just go to Amsterdam and run around other than when I was a kid and my dad took me. Like now I'm an adult and can enjoy it. So I
and
just,
actually experience
yeah.
something.
And I wanted
wanna
just like an
experience
ocean
that,
between me and my ex. I was like, you need to get out of here. I can't run into you at Trader Joe's. Like you're driving me nuts. So I moved there for 6 weeks.
Trying to
And
get that Danish dick is what you're trying to do. Were you trying to get? Were you trying to get a little Dutch dick?
I was trying
no,
to.
she's like grieving.
No,
the
I
end
was
of her
not.
life.
I was not
No.
trying to get any, but I did tell him when I left. I was like, "We're done. If I do hook, I was like, do whatever you want because I don't care. But like, I'm going. If I hook up with somebody, like, I'm not looking for it because I was like grieving. If I do, like, I'm gonna do it, and just know that. So yeah, I moved there for that, and then before I came back, like around like right before Christmas, and was like, our lease ended end of January, so I was like, you need to be out by the time I get back or like have an apartment by then. And of course he didn't. So I ended up moving out again once I got back over like
But you
Christmas.
did-
What a fucking lazy
you-
bum.
It was a bum.
Did you find a Holland hoe, as it were?
I did, and it was the worst.
Why?
Oh man.
They're tall white dudes.
He was really young, first of all. Like,
Your rebound was a lot younger than you.
yeah, he was like 23.
Wow.
Yeah. So young.
that's
Super
exciting.
cute though. But like also
Do you clink wooden shoes,
Ah.
if you will? Just, sorry.
no, it was just like awkward and weird, and like he didn't know what he was doing. And then like I had a rule about not giving people head until I'd seen their STD test. You know, I'm like, I'm afraid of getting herpes because my ex almost gave me herpes.
Yes, we've
so I'm
already
like, no.
we've already established this in the Thrinder debacle.
Yeah, so
2012.
so I remember him just being like, "Well, you want to like suck it a little bit?" And I was like, "No, I do not. I have a rule. I do not go down."
Did he
on
have the?
people."
I mean, even with the accent, like, oh, you suck it a little bit. Will you?
Sound like
I don't know.
that.
I don't have a
Yeah.
knowledge of the Holland.
You sound
Dutch
like
accent.
Goldfinger.
Yeah, it's
Why
like
are you
that's
sucking
very
me dick,
German.
won't
Like
ya?
it's close, but not.
Hi, Maite.
Shut up.
I'll blow him the
A
cock.
pirate.
Oh my god!
So then
A
you.
Swedish pirate.
Yeah. So then you go back to L.A.
go back to
your
LA.
husband's still living there. Blah blah blah. How many years ago are we up? What did we cut up to? We're at 2015. I'm trying to do the math here.
I think that was end of 2016.
So you were. So I met you like early on in your divorce.
Yeah, like you probably met me when I was still like technically with him, but shit was going down the tubes.
Did you pause your stand-up career in this point? Like, were you
No,
not?
I actually started doing stand-up more. And I was doing like some when I was with him, but I was also like on the west side. That's where I was living. We were in like Mar Vista. So I do it here and there. But once I moved out from him, and like we were technically still married, even though like the divorce papers had been filed, because in LA you have to wait 6 months for it to finalize in case you change your mind. Like, give me a break. Like I've already gone through all this trouble.
Jeez,
I know.
that's
Yo,
annoying.
Britney
Yeah,
K.
it's so
Fed
annoying.
law there.
Yeah. So yeah, I just like, I moved out and then I was just doing stand up a ton. Like I wrote a joke about the 6 month waiting period, and I went to Karma Lounge for the first time and like tested it. And ever since then, like I just was doing it way more.
I feel like if you get married, the audience gives you an applause break. And then if you get divorced, they give you a louder applause break. I feel like there's the two things. People are like, yeah, you're married. Fuck yeah. Oh, you got divorced. Fuck yeah, you're really divorced.
Sometimes they pause and they're like, "Ugh, how do we react? Like, are they sad? Are they,
How does it feel being, and again, I don't mean to, there's no, I'm not trying to project any shame onto you, but does it feel weird being like a young woman who's divorced?
It does. Yeah. It's like almost like it's like an icky layer of sorts. Like
Because
now
it shouldn't be, but I'm just asking because
but
it is like a
it could be a deal breaker for some people. I think like they're like, oh, I don't want to be with somebody that's already done this before. Like if they want to get married, like I feel like
we know so many people who are young and divorced.
Yeah.
Young and divorced. Yeah, but it's not, you don't have kids. I feel like kids is more of a deal breaker. But yeah, I mean that does make sense. Like what if you do meet a guy and he wants that like first wedding thing, and it's like,
yeah, that would be like a problem if that was an issue for me now, but it's not. But like I definitely had like kind of dated, like I went on like a no date, no sex with anybody after I did try to rebound, and I was like, everybody's terrible. And then I just was like, I'm done with the dick. That's what I called the dick baticle. I'm sure you remember my dick baticle.
I don't
listen to me at all.
Not at all. Dick baticle. Never heard it before.
Sabbatical from
you had a dick baticle.
Yeah,
so you must have had some bad dick in LA then.
Yeah,
so it wasn't just a Dutch dick. You had bad LA dick.
I definitely had like someone that I dated that I did like, but like I never really saw a future with because they were a little younger, but it was like nice to be around somebody that was like cool and nice. But I remember them being like very intimidated by like the fact that there was a divorce and the fact that like they wouldn't have been the first one, and like the inexperience of not having been in a relationship that serious, so like there's like levels of that. And also like, why do I still have to like fill out forms as divorced? Like, why can't I just go to single again? Like there's a box for divorce. Like what is that?
Yeah.
That is a weird thing. Yeah. It should just say single or
That's
married.
why you should never take someone else's name, because it creates this clerical issue where it's like you have this name, your IMDb's fucked up, your SAG name needs to change.
I especially think that for people our age, young professionals.
Yeah.
I decided a long time ago I was not changing my name, but
Good.
it's
Keep
still...
it.
I'm sorry, Dave, that you feel so upset about this.
I don't care.
No, but for young professional women especially, it's like you build up your career as you, and now you're going to change your name. You have this identity online. And I'm not just talking about Instagram. I'm talking about like, you're a lawyer. You work for a firm. Your name's on the wall. You build a website, whatever it is. Like,
no,
Google.
I definitely
Google
like,
things.
I never thought that I would be so like, have such a strong opinion on the name change until I had to do it. Cause I was like, yeah, whatever. Like you can do that. But I remember he found it like very flattering and awesome that I would do it. But then by the time I was about to do it, like I couldn't change it completely. I just added it on the end so that I had both, because I just was like, well, who is this person? Like who is like this name? Like that's not me. Like I have no idea who this is. And it was so uncomfortable and such like an identity crisis that I was like, I'll add it to the end, but I'm not changing it completely. Like I'm not erasing my name. And like what a pain in the ass that process is. Like way too many forms, way too much time.
And then to get it changed back.
That was way harder. Like
it's hard enough getting your
But you know what? It's hard keeping it too, because if you have kids, then you like get the third degree every time you try and take your kids on a plane, because you don't have the same last name on your
give
passport.
the kids like both names and just keep your own.
Do a hyphenated name.
I say you give the kids a cool name you both wish you had. Like McConaughey.
Just make up a new.
I want a Dave McConaughey.
No, because then you have to spell it.
Yeah.
I still don't know how to spell it.
No.
So do you lose trust in, you go on your dick batical. I mean, are you turning down good dick left and right? It's being thrown
There was
at you?
no good dick being thrown at me during that time.
It was all subpar.
Yeah,
dick.
it was just a bunch of bullshit. And I was like, I was just so not interested in anything. I was only interested in myself and like doing what I wanted to do. And I just didn't care. And I was perfectly content with just dying alone. Like I was so excited about it.
Have you been? 'Cause I know.
Done.
I know. When I found Tasha, she was like, I think, ready to consider just dating women because she was so upset at the dick.
Oh my God.
Like, was that an issue? Were you thinking maybe I'll just like I'm dating the wrong gender here?
I wish, but like I never I'd like tried to make out with like a couple girls like in my youth, like in college and stuff, you know, when you're all drunk and you're out, like, and I just never got that like little tingle that was like, ooh, I want to take this farther. So it just was never really my thing.
Like I blew a guy in college, and I did one a few weeks ago. No, I'm kidding. No.
I was like, wait.
No, I haven't. But
Tell me more.
My college roommate was gay, and like he would get drunk and like make out with a guy, and then he'd be like, "Yeah, I just got drunk, man. No big deal." Like he wasn't out of the closet yet. We were like, "Bro, you're gay." You know, that's a gay thing. It's like just make out with another dude, but also like
sometimes you gotta test it out and see if you want it, you know. But like, no, I just never. Yeah, I was never really into that.
Yeah, because is there something about Los Angeles that we have some of our most loyal listeners? By the way, I want to give a shout out to Maggie and Hamilton, two people that I met this week that I made subscribe to the podcast. They're big podcast listeners. So Maggie and Hamilton, I met them in Santa Monica, and they were definitely about to get laid when I met them. He was ready to crush her pussy. His words, not mine. She's like, "Oh my God, you're telling a stranger." I was like, "I have to mention this on the podcast."
If he said that in front of you, I'd be like, "Well, that just made him not be able to crush that pussy."
No, they were a good-looking couple. They've since crushed the pussy. It's been crushed. It's done.
Don't
Maggie,
crush it,
Hamilton,
be gentle. It's
congratulations.
nice.
But I just wanted to give them a shout out. But like our Vic, one of our listeners, I mean, she's always complaining to me about how bad the dating pool is here, and I don't know if men. I mean, I know. I'll tell you this. I mean, the guys have to deal with the fact that every woman's gonna like want to know what your deal is, what your influence is. I mean, L.A. is a very like superficial town. I mean, people want to know like.
Well, I wouldn't say every woman's gonna want to know. I'd say every person is gonna want to know.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It's like people want to know what you bring to the table, and it's not just like looks and charms and you have a good little side job. It's like, are you making it? What's your status? What's your power?
Yeah, well, well, it's not like about like necessarily status for me. I think though, like being in a relationship that I was like legally tied to made me really reevaluate like my list of criteria for like what I want out of a person.
Which is what?
Like I need somebody to be ambitious and driven and like work hard. Like I don't care how much money you make. Like, do you work hard? Are you passionate about something?
Yeah, having a passion and just like going after it is really important.
Yeah, and just being able to do whatever it takes to get what you want out of it, and just not being a liar, being honest, like just treating me well, like just like it's very simple. Like treat me well. Be honest with me. Like I'm very understanding, but I'm also very intuitive. So if you're fucking lying, I'm going to know, especially now, because now I know everything. I was right.
So have you had a hard time sort of like, so you're in a current relationship with a very nice gentleman that we know. And do you have sort of any hauntings from this past experience, some scar tissue?
Oh, for sure.
Of like expecting him to sneak off and be on Tinder because the last guy did.
No, I don't think that of him at all, actually. And that's not to say that like if things like line up similarly and like seem the same, like which is so rare, but like if you kind of get that like instinct. Like it's so little and rare and like gets solved very easily. For me, I think just the way that our relationship started kind of took all that off the table. Cause like one, he's not the same type of guy as like my ex was, which is like somebody that like kind of always needed that female attention. And like when he wasn't getting it, like it was like so obvious that he needed it from somewhere else, like you just don't get that vibe just as a whole person, like not even in relation to me. And two, just like how honest both of each other were with each other when we met. As like he had just gotten out of a relationship too, and neither of us like were like ready to jump into anything else. We were like, all right, like I like you, let's hang out, but like let's not.
And you guys have you hit the 3-year mark?
We're almost to 2.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's not even. Oh, I thought it was longer. So you're almost at 2 years.
Yeah, but like
you were both sort of like had dealt with your past shit. How did you guys meet?
We met at a bar, just like the bar that I always went to. I just happened to run into him, and we just.
Oh, it wasn't like through stand up.
No, I don't date comedians. That's like
I know you. I know.
I have.
Everyone's got that rule, but everyone's also violated that rule.
I violated it, which is why I have it.
Because you date a guy who's the complete. I mean, it's
also just don't shit where you eat, dude.
Yeah,
like, that's not.
And it's a very specific level of neediness that comics need, and I feel like it's hard if. I couldn't. I mean, some comics make it work. I feel like it's a collision that's like a static collision where you collide and then go together. But a lot of times it's just nuclear explosion. I feel like I don't know. I mean, but anyway, so you guys, because he's a musician.
Yeah.
So is there like do you have a type like as far as creatively speaking?
For sure. Like I definitely accidentally have a type. Like, and if you look at, my current boyfriend, like just visually, he's like absolutely my type. And if you look at my ex, he's opposite my type, which I was
Can we
like,
say
well,
his
that's
name?
good.
Can we say his name?
I don't.
No, we don't have to say his name.
Should we say his
No,
name?
we'll call him Billy. Billy's a good-looking dude, and I
didn't.
think
Yeah, no,
I'll
I didn't
say
ask
this.
him if it was okay, so we'll call him Billy.
Billy, I met. I think I still had my long hair, and I remember meeting
yeah.
Billy because he was in the audience, and I was like trying to like crowd work my long hair jokes with a dude who had long hair, and I found a dude who had long hair, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, bro!" Like man buns, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
This guy, he kept his long hair. I caved. I got rid of it. But
Oh, yeah.
no, I like Billy. We like Billy. How's things going with him?
Billy and I are great. Yeah, it's like it's too easy, which is great. It's
That's
just,
how it's supposed to be.
But that's the thing. Until you have that, you don't know that.
Yeah.
Like I'm like I wouldn't have put up with any of this other shit if I knew that it could be this easy. Like give me a break.
What makes it easy?
I mean, just one, we're just really compatible as people. Like we like to do the same things and hang out. We both like to support each other's careers. So it's not like I'm dragging him to stand-up shows or he's dragging me to his shows and things like that. And we get along with each other's friends easily, and just like a level of understanding and honesty where it's like, hey, why do you got to leave the lids off of everything? And it doesn't turn into this big explosion.
He's not defensive.
No, he's just like, oh shit, sorry.
wow, what is that like?
Well, maybe Jess
oh
doesn't
my-
say it in a way that's fucking annoying. How about that?
He can be defensive, as can I, but generally, like, there's
But
no
you have
bullshit.
to learn the tone.
There's no bullshit. You have to learn the tone.
Tone is important to me.
No, it is, but it is.
Dave,
Let's all look at Tasha.
No.
Tasha's tone. Tasha will be like, she'll say shit.
Dave
slower.
can't.
Does she talk slower?
She'll say shit that's like, babe, and she'll like say it in a way that cringes my soul.
Well, how many times have you done it?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's like time number 40 that I've asked you to put the lid back on the toothpaste when
What
you're
is
done
with
with
the
it.
lids, guys?
I can't
Like,
understand
how busy
it.
are you that you're like, "Phew," and you're just like taking the lids off everything?
I have such a toothpaste like I take the toothpaste. I have one of those mechanical toothbrushes, and then I pee while I'm brushing my teeth because I've learned that you can pee and do
And
it at the same
then
time.
you don't wash your hands and you don't put the lid back on.
Nah, I
it.
usually wash my hands, splash it, this and that, whatever. But the point is that she really does have like a way to cut through my soul when she tells me things. And like earlier,
But
she's
if
like, "Babe, you're the dog's toy and your backpack," and I was like, "I'll do it," but also like I didn't want to do
He
it right
just
away.
like doesn't see.
Maybe he does it out of
stuff.
spite. Yeah.
yeah, and so like it's like.
yeah.
I would love to not have to ask him. You know what I mean? I would love to not have to say it.
You
but
put
the
her in
fact
this
of
position,
the
man.
matter is, you would not do it on your own because
No,
you
no,
don't
no.
see that
Sometimes
stuff.
you'll ride-
his shoes out, his backpack out, a fucking bird, the dog's toy, shit's just
Sometimes
lying
you'll-
everywhere. And if I don't say it, it won't get done. That's why it's stressful when we have to clean before a podcast.
No, but what you'll
because
do?
Dave,
No.
He's just leaving a trail of breadcrumbs behind
All right,
him.
her microphone's off. I turned her off. She's off.
pick up behind him, picking up.
She stole
It's
my
like I'm
microphone.
just doing double the work,
Following
even
with a
though he's
dustpan.
supposed to be helping.
She'll be like ride my ass. I'm a multitasker. I got 8 things going on. My brain is a DJ booth. Just zip, 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 zip. I'm doing a million things at once. So like I'm getting it all done, and it would always like. If
But
Tasha's-
does it get done if you multitask? You just half-ass everything.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
That's scientifically
oh my
proven now.
God,
That's
it
the
is.
episode, everybody. We gotta go. No,
Just put your full ass into one thing so I can actually
Your
see
full ass.
something get done.
I think I'll say this: we've learned a lot about how to like get ready for podcasting and spend enough time because I can whip the place together in 10 minutes, but
yeah,
Tasha
but
wants
like
an hour and a half.
exactly what we said, half-assed,
Which is
whipped it
fine.
together.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, my shortcoming is that I try to, I'll try to do everything at once. Totally. But the way you say things sometimes, it's like, yeah. And again, so many men right now are listening to this going, dude, I fucking understand. Like we have bosses that tell us what to do. We got strangers out there.
Don't make anybody have to tell you what
the
to do.
fucking industry's telling us what to do, and then we come home and we need to know where the backpack goes. Bro, take the backpack and throw it out the fucking window, okay?
You know where the backpack goes. I don't like your tone, Dave. Your tone is just.
And I don't tell her where to put her shit. I just
her shit probably
yeah,
already
because
is
mine
put
just
away,
has
right?
the spot. It just goes there. Nobody has to tell
I
me
love
where
that,
to put
like,
my shit because I
As women,
just
we're
put
just
it
already
there.
ganging up on you. I don't
Jess,
even know what this is about. I've never
when
been
I
here.
moved here, this place looked like Jumanji when like Robin Williams was gone for 30 years. There was shit piled everywhere. There was dust. I had
That's
to clean the
not true.
baseboards. She had a pink couch.
You've
with a
never
dot-
once
with a-
cleaned the baseboards, by the way. I don't know how you brought
I
that up.
have cleaned the base. I have scrubbed them with
Gaslighting.
OxyClean. So then when she goes, "What the thing's got to go?" I go, "Do you know what I've done?" And then I understand that there's some Catholic guilt there, where like I'll use everything I've done in the past to like combat that, and that's what we do. It's like I've done a lot. Like
It's because you take it as a personal attack. Your ego is so fragile that you take it as an attack on you when I ask you to put the lid on the toothpaste. That's your problem. I'm not calling you an asshole or you like incompetent or whatever, but you have this guilty feeling inside that makes you feel like when I say toothpaste, I'm saying Dave sucks.
my ego's not.
I'm right? Like I'm
ego's-
just talking about do the toothpaste.
Yeah, but you do it in this like false, babe. If you could just do it. I can't even finish it because it'll sound. It's
But maybe
off-putting
that's
to
the
the
thing.
radio.
Maybe like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure, but like maybe you wouldn't hear it like that if you weren't like immediately triggered. Like maybe there is no tone.
It's
That's
guilt
right. Is
in there.
there is
It's
there
like
a
guilt and
tone?
shame.
What does the
Listen,
tone
Jess,
sound like?
I'm going to need you to leave.
Dave, what does the tone sound like that she should use? Because this is what they'd say in couples therapy, like practice the toothpaste.
Listen,
Dave just left it off. Okay, you're
Jess,
Tasha.
Jess, let me
you leave it off, Tasha. Tell him.
Okay, fine. You want to do the toothpaste?
You just found it in the bathroom.
Well, looky here.
No.
Looky here there, Dave. It
That
turns
sounds like
out-
that could turn into a shitty tone so fast.
it-
Well, looky here.
Whoopsie daisy. Well, I'm going to turn my mic up because I want to do this whispering. Well, looky here, Tasha. Oh, Dave. Looky here, Dave. It turns out you made a mistake. I know you weren't trying to. I know you're a great guy and you mean well, but it turns out you were so busy doing all the other things and chores that you forgot to put the lid on the toothpaste. It's okay, Dave. I got it for you. That's all.
No, but I don't think I should have to pick up your slack. I can give you a long-winded speech that should be at the end of Princess Bride if you want.
I do. Give it to me.
Try
you
it-
still
try it
have
next
to put
time.
your
Give me
toothpaste on
that
your
speech.
own.
Oh, yeah.
Give me the long speech. I would appreciate it so much. Because
can't
Mimi,
wait.
Yeah, but at the end of it, she does have to be like, but I'd appreciate if you'd remember it next time, Dave. Please remember it next
but Jess,
So that
wait,
I don't have to give a speech
here-
once a night.
Yeah.
Here's the problem I have with like there's a lot. Okay, and we have a lot to get into. So I know we just hit an hour, so we got to get into a few other topics. So I'll make this quick. I'm so sick of hearing about emotional labor from like Tasha. Like it's emotional labor if I don't know where like she'll like take something and like stow it away to hide it. I'll be like, where's my iPad? And she'll be like, oh, it's on the bookshelf. How the fuck would I know that? You took it from where it was and you moved it.
I never put it there. You put it there, and when
listen-
you were out of town, it was ringing. He would like try. I would try and FaceTime him
was my
because
Tinder-
he
my
would
Tinder was
FaceTime
going
me,
off.
Oh,
and
God.
it was ringing, and I couldn't. I was like losing my mind because I knew it was somewhere on the bookshelf, but I like couldn't see it because it was like so sliver thin, hidden in between books.
Make it real quick.
I did not put it there. Is the point?
And let the record show she interrupted me on my point. My point is that I do all the things. I make the coffee. I do all the dishes. I'm the laundry guy. I am totally the maitre d' of the house. Like I do all the shit. And then when one thing's off, like okay, perfect example. Last night I go, babe, I don't want to tell you this because I know you're gonna make it about you.
Oh.
But my throat's a little sore. And I think I'm coming down with something. And she goes, oh, you're going to get me sick. Oh, my gosh. Don't go near me. Or, like, I'll have a situation where I'll have to, like, here's...
It makes me so mad when he's sick because he always brings home colds because he doesn't take care of himself. And
I'm never sick. I'm
vulnerable.
never sick. I'm never sick. I'm never sick. I'm so
Always
healthy.
putting his mouth on the
No,
microphone. getting that
I'm
comedy
not,
illness.
and I'm not sick. I just had a little ruffle in my throat. I've been outside all day yelling. So
just don't tell her about it.
No, but that's the thing. And then the second I do, so like, and again, I don't mean to be crude. Women don't understand what external genitalia are all about, but balls are not on the inside of your body. They don't just stay in one place. They move depending on the humidity, the temperature, whatever. So every once in a while, you need to just pull them back, just rein them back like you're breaking a horse on the side. Like you just got to pull them
How
back.
heavy are your balls, dude?
Not heavy.
Two-hand job.
No.
He needs his biceps.
Every guy here knows what I'm talking about. It just slides in one direction. You got to pull them back, whatever.
I can't imagine. What a nightmare.
But Tasha goes, will you stop scratching your balls? I go, you don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not like scratching them like I'm doing laundry in the 1800s. It's not like a washboard. I'm like just scratching my balls.
Everybody knows about that like absent-minded scratch that their boyfriend does on the couch. So
dude, they just keep their hands in their pants and they're just like having a grand old time down there.
But just understand
you're gonna
that
get fungus under your fingernails.
Yeah, but just understand that you don't know what that is that I'm doing. It's just
just wash your balls and they won't be ishy. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, good to know. So I'm just saying that you have to on gender issues, you have to know that you're not always right. It's a little bit different. I don't claim to know what a cyst feels like, or your ovaries flipping over, or whatever the fuck's going on.
You guys, I'm really sorry I brought up the lids, man.
It's all good. It's important. This is our acupuncture. We're just letting it out.
Fine tuning the relationship.
It's totally
It's
gone.
important. It's important.
Speaking of things that are important, I wanted to talk about this because I know it's a plug, but also we're talking about a lot of pro-life, pro-choice things in the world. Oh, yeah. And the thing that bothers me the most with the state of our sort of society is that we're not. We talked before about law of attraction, how like in a relationship everything needs to be equal, not like tit for tat equal, but like, what are you doing? What the fuck was that?
Oh, I think it's a grape
Well,
thing.
I had a grape leaf on me. She totally just.
Sorry, it freaked me out. I thought it was a bug.
For a second and a half there, the podcast was silent. That was. Anyway, we're not arguing the pro-life, pro-choice thing in a way where anyone's listening to anybody. And there's plenty of people out there that it's crazy what's happening. And something happened in the last couple months where a bunch of states, I think in secret, all decided they were going to try to pass these laws to get rid of abortions. And they're in the pro-life argument is that they're just not about killing anything. And the pro-choice argument is, no, we don't want to kill things either, but there are situations in which you need to let the people
who actually know stuff make decisions.
Or the people that have to deal with it. Actually, like it just takes away an agency that you would never take away from a man. So it's like, to me, it's always bullshit that it's even on the table to take that away.
You would never take that away from a man. You would never take that away from a cadaver.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even take a dead person's organs without them giving their permission. So literally dead people have more agency than women over their own bodies. Are you kidding me?
It's crazy. And not to mention the fact that like the excuses that are being used for like the extremity, or is it extremity if it's extreme, or is that just a limb? Whatever.
Sure.
The extremeness of these laws is gone now to like incest and rape. It's like, oh, well, you still have to have the baby. And it's like the things that the politicians are saying to defend that are so just
sickening.
Make
me sick to my stomach.
It's so sick.
But we know that these politicians, and again, I'm not defending men. I just don't see it as a gender issue. And I know that a lot of times, like in Alabama, it's literally, you'll see 20 lawmakers, they're all men. But every female I talk to, it's like an ideological issue. I've got plenty of family in Missouri, even in Rhode Island and all over that are pro-life, and women. It seems to me that it's not a gender issue, that it's really about like people that are hardcore Christians versus like other people that I was raised Catholic. I'm not trying to bring religion into it. It just seems to me like you can't, like the choice has to be more complicated.
If you're a hardcore Christian, don't get an abortion.
Yeah. And
you're allowing yourself that choice for yourself.
Yeah.
But like you can't impose your will on other people.
Right. And it's a gender issue not because of like who is pro-life or pro-choice. Like it's not like all women are pro-choice and all men are pro-life or whatever. It's a gender issue because like if this was an attack on men's choices over their bodies and women's choices over their own bodies, then it wouldn't be. But like this is not a problem for men's bodies at all.
I hear
these laws don't have consequences for men.
Yeah.
I hear all that. There's definitely I can see that there's a gender divide there. I just don't think if when these states put a vote on it, the men and women voted on these dudes to run to make these laws.
Gerrymandering is a thing too.
There's a lot of layers here, Dave.
Yeah.
I just talked to a lot of people, and it doesn't seem like it's really just a bunch of dudes wanting to control women's bodies. I understand that that's part of a bigger issue that like I think lawmakers don't want don't want their constituents to even have choices in the first place. But all these places we're talking about, whether it's the Midwest or the South, these women are drinking the Kool-Aid. They're not on your side. I mean,
not all of them.
But
not all of them.
But it's complicated.
There are some
people that are drinking the Kool-Aid for sure.
And I think it's more like a religious sort of mixing into the government, which I don't think should happen at all. It's like, this is not part of.
Yeah, we're supposed to have separation of church and
which
state.
we don't. Like, everybody's using terms like God's will and things, and it's like, careful.
I mean, it's and again, I'm not one to lead the conversation. I just wanted to talk about it because it's been something that everyone's been talking about in the news, and I know Jess. So you've brought up what. So tell us about the fundraising you're doing.
Oh, yeah. So I was a women's studies major in college / criminal justice, and so for me, like,
Jesus Christ, what a combo!
The whole like pro-choice, like women's reproductive rights issue is like really big for me, and I've always been on that side, and like just like seeing all these states making these extreme laws has really sort of been like, oh man, this is getting a lot more serious, especially given that our Supreme Court is a lot more Republican than it ever has been, even though it's like technically not. Shouldn't be either way. It's like they've been appointed by Republicans. It's getting a little scary that this could possibly go in and affect Roe v. Wade. So I just thought, like, what's the only way that I can really think of that could help this? And that's like money. What affects everything? Money. So I just designed a shirt and a sweatshirt that just says unapologetically pro-choice, which is how I always describe myself to anybody who tries to get in an argument with me about it and change my mind. I'm just like, you're never going to change my mind. Like, you can say, like, even if you start talking about heartbeats and things like that, I'm like, unapologetically, I am pro-choice. It doesn't matter if it is a kid. Fine, call it that. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want it to have to happen, but like, regardless, like, the woman is already here. It's her choice. End of story. So created these shirts, got a nice middle finger in the middle of it. Says unapologetically pro-choice. They're for sale for like another 11 days, I think. And I'm just going to donate 100% of those profits to initially Yellowhammer Fund, because that's in Alabama, specifically helping those women that are dealing with that new legislation. But if I make enough money, I'll spread it around to some other pro-choice organizations.
Dude,
as well.
that sounds awesome, and I'll totally buy one.
We'll put the link in the description of this podcast so people can go check that out.
Yeah, we'll put it on Instagram too. That's a good idea.
And it's what's interesting is too. It's like, if you want to go get high, you go to Colorado or California. You don't get in trouble for going to California to smoke a joint.
Yeah.
But some of the state's laws, you can't leave the state to get an abortion.
Yeah.
Conspiracy to commit murder now if you do that. Like, what?
But again, I made the mistake of getting in this wormhole of an argument with some family online because my sister, who is an amazing person, I love her, she's beautiful. She doesn't understand, like, Planned Parenthood, what they're all about, things like that. My own stepdad too. They're just drinking a different Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And I got down this wormhole in his comments, and all the other pro-choice people kind of like bowed out because I don't do Facebook fighting. I don't. No, but it was my sister, and so like I will do it with my sister because like I'll get embarrassed that she'll like post things.
Oh yeah.
Because she posted this thing about like this doctor giving this Senate hearing about how brutal abortions were, and it's like whenever I see fear, this is how I act with Republicans, Democrats, everyone. If I'm watching magic, I'm not watching the guy doing the magic trick. I'm seeing what his other hand is doing. That's just how I am. If some shit's going on over here, I want to know
out the trick here.
What's going on? I want to know the trick, and that's how it is when I see fear tactic. I go, who's funding this? What's going on?
Right.
So my sister posted this, not knowing anything about what she was talking about, and it led into this whole other conversation. But the problem is that people, some of these pro-life people are trying to hoodwink me and be like, ha, so you do admit there's a heartbeat. And I go, look, I'm not having a heartbeat conversation.
Right.
I'm not having a conversation about when the soul enters the body. The problem is that there is a line that needs to be drawn somewhere amongst when like a baby's a baby, and like you don't want to be ripping babies out of vaginas like Trump said and putting them in a blanket and then deciding about abortions. That doesn't seem to be the bigger issue.
That's not a real thing.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
That's to clear the air. That's not a real thing. That's not true.
With issues that we have, there is a line drawn where an abortion should be legal or illegal, but then health should change things, whether it's somebody's...
Well, either way, the whole reason, and like we were having this conversation with your dad about the late-term abortions New York thing. That whole law was really designed just to protect doctors from legal consequences,
malpractice
right?
issues,
and
insurance.
Who else besides a woman in this position having to make this horrible decision and her doctor are better suited to be the people to make this decision?
Right.
I'm sorry, but your sister in Rhode Island or your sister in St. Louis are not in charge of this lady's decision.
Yeah.
They're just not. They're not best suited to make that call.
Please don't unsubscribe, Chase, if you're listening. No, but and again, you're right.
I would never presume that somebody in Oklahoma that I don't know, I am smarter than her and her circumstances, her doctor, what she's going through.
It's also not your problem. Like, are you going to raise this child? Are you going to pay for it? Are you going to like make everything work? No, you're going to forget about it by the time the kid's born and be like, don't ask me for any money once they're here, because that's your problem.
I think a pro-life stance is just in its simplest terms, it's like a safe, moralistic like place to be for people. So like, I'm not mad at people that are like pro-life. I just think they don't understand that. Like, I think pro-choice people are
focus your energies elsewhere. You know, like if you're really pro-life, then you should be all about funding Planned Parenthood. We should have universal health care. Women should have like the easiest access to it, but we shouldn't need prescriptions for birth control. You should be able to pick it up like you could pick up Sudafed. And you know what I mean? If you're really anti-abortion, the right thing to do is all of these other things that prevent unwanted pregnancies. But those same people that are standing on the pulpit preaching no abortions want to defund Planned Parenthood.
And they want to give abstinence-only education, where
exactly.
It's like it's shown that when you give free abortion in certain states, like I'm blanking on which state I just saw do that, but like abortion rates went down by like 45%.
Maybe Washington.
Yeah.
And again, like my stepdaddy's a smart guy, but like you just listen to the radio station you listen to, and you listen to the news you listen to, and like, you know, his argument was like, I would never step foot into Planned Parenthood, and then we said, well, they don't
do
fund
cancer screening,
but Planned Parenthood doesn't fund abortions. That's all. Abortions are all privately funded at Planned Parenthood.
You mean taxpayers? That's what we were talking about. The Hyde Amendment, because they all say, I don't want my money going towards abortions. It's like that doesn't happen. Yeah. It's against the law. That has never happened. It's the Hyde Amendment. No taxpayer money funds abortion.
But I mean, both people on either side are guilty of like only perpetuating these like also fake memes that are out there that like just get their point across. And that's why I think it's really important to like look into this stuff. Because I think it even like I remember seeing something on Facebook circulating around, and Facebook I think is the most guilty of it, of like just like a bunch of animals like in sort of a vet's office like being picked and prodded or whatever, and it was like MAC Cosmetics or something is doing this to animals, boycott them. And I was like, this is weird, and I like just like looked that picture up, and it was like actually like a mass spaying at like a veterinary college, like that had nothing to do with like animal testing, but like whoever took it just like used it without, you know, without the context being correct. So it's like you have to be, it's very irresponsible. It's like it's already bad to test on animals, you know, but like now you look like a stupid asshole because you just use a fake photo to make your point. And now, and like, how can anybody give you credibility for anything?
They just did that at, you know, they used that photo of like it was like after a tailgating event. So there was just like a garden grass field with just trash everywhere. And they're like, this is California State Park. Look what socialism gets you. And it's like, okay. And so I just plead with everyone listening. It's not a Republican, Democrat issue. Yeah. It's the issues are all about look when the magician's doing his trick, just look where his other hand is, see where the money's coming from.
Yeah, see who wins by you believing this, and like what do they get out of it, sort of situation.
And it's a tough decision, and I've been lucky enough to never have to like try to make a decision on abortion. I think in my past it wouldn't have been that hard of a decision that I would have gone with an abortion, just because that's just I've thought about it before. I've been in relationships where I'm like, what this person trying to, because like, you know, I don't know,
I'll try to sneak a baby in on
just
you, like
hoodwink a kid in,
poking some holes in the condoms. Yeah. Like that's like the urban legend that all guys are afraid of. Like, why is she going in the bathroom after we had sex? Is she getting that condom?
I had a roommate who would fill up his condoms with water. His girlfriend made him do that just to make sure it didn't leak.
Stop it.
Because she was that worried about getting
there
pregnant.
Was not enough trust in that relationship to be having sex to begin with. Like, also, didn't you just wash out a lot of the spermicide when you did that? Like, bad move.
And there's also like plenty of people can be pro-choice and then not have an abortion. You know what I mean? It's just about
pro-choice is not anti-life. Pro-choice is just literally pro-choice. That's why I don't like it when people say pro-life. I'm like, no, you're anti-choice.
Well, I've got an aunt, very well educated, smart smart lady, and she goes, like, I'm pro-life, but like I want other people to have their choice. And I go, well, you're pro. That's choice.
Yeah.
But I understand the sentiment is like people want to establish where they stand on it, being like, I wouldn't do that, but it's like, okay, that's choice.
But that's like what Tasha was saying. Like, if you believe so much in it, then why aren't you putting your time and effort and money into making it easier for people to prevent it than just like punishing the people that ended up in that situation? Nobody wants to be in that situation.
Because they've taken their simple stance on it. And again, like
but it's not even, they're not about activism or changing anything.
Real
they're
easy
just about
to talk shit
keyboard warrior.
from your soapbox. Yeah. Give me a break.
But it's just, it's a safe place. Like I'm constantly looking at these scenarios where I just feel bad for people in general. I just feel their emotion. My level of empathy is way too strong for a lot of Republicans who feel like they're being dismissed because they've got like, pretty sensible moral values, but they don't see it. They're just not seeing it the same way as a liberal person might see it.
Well, I mean, everybody thinks they're the good guy, and that's the issue.
Yeah.
It's like there is no good guy or bad guy. It's just like, can we really realistically look at the line? And I think it's so simple. Like, does this affect you? Is it you personally, your body? No, then shut up.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, it's that simple. But it's like, it's so hard to take a really conservative Republican person seriously when they're like, no, I care so much about that baby, I'm pro-life, but then they're like pro-death penalty and like, super pro-gun, to where they're like, no, don't take away my guns, even though so many people die from that. So it's like, how can you say that when you do that? Like, it's contradictory.
And the problem that we have is that with society today, influential people, smart people, everyone wants to know where you stand on an issue. And I've heard someone else say this, but you need to lock these people up in a private room and figure their shit out. And there's a lot of scenarios where Planned Parenthood can probably grow from a lot of points that a lot of the conservative agendas have. Like a lot of conservative agendas, they say, well, like at Planned Parenthood, they just want to sign you up for an abortion and not give you therapy. And I don't know if that's true or not, but what you should be doing is saying, okay, well, let's make Planned Parenthood as badass as possible. Let's make it so badass that even conservative people are okay with what's going on in there by giving people who walk in as many.
They do give people education. So that's the thing, is like, you can't make them happy when they don't even have the facts straight.
And what I'm saying is make that stronger. You say they do, I say make it stronger.
But Dave, what if they're saying like, I don't believe that they should even have birth control because that's against God's will, and I don't even believe to teach children about sex education because they shouldn't even be doing that. They should be having abstinence. When it's like, that is so unrealistic.
It's crazy that's I think farther than what most people's.
For sure, like
I think you win the populace if you just kind of show people. Like I think you win probably 80% of conservatives if you just show them what goes on in a Planned Parenthood. Really, when they break down, all right, public funding goes to this. I do. I think that they don't know, because everyone I've talked to, my sister, my stepdad, they go, I would never step foot in a place like that. They kill babies, and you go, well, look, they're not just harvesting fetuses on the black market. You know what I mean? Like, there's.
But have you had good luck, like? Saying that to somebody that believes that you just walk into Planned Parenthood and it's just like a bunch of babies being killed, and then you tell them that's not what happens. They're like, oh man, I totally
sort of.
Yeah, no.
Well, sort of.
No.
My stepdad was willing to say, like, look, look, if it's true what you're saying
about the Hyde Amendment, and
he was saying, if it's true what you're
funds.
saying that taxpayer funds don't fund abortions, then I would change my opinion.
But do you think that he got on Google and did research and has changed his opinion? No.
You need to make a meme that's real easy for them to see, like what it is, without having to read more than like 6 words, like that sort of thing.
I'm just saying, I think you're both agree, and I think you're both dismissive of the fact that people can grow. I know it's not easy, but people don't grow by the war that's happening on social media hasn't changed anyone's opinion. We just solidified it. So anyway, I don't want to drag it on too hard. I just think that the conversations we had with my stepdad.
Conversations are important. I do think maybe it's possible to open somebody's eyes. I just don't think that it's like confirmation bias, right? When someone's fixed in their opinion, they're only going to look for things that support their opinion. So, it doesn't matter how many facts you give somebody. I don't imagine you change somebody's mind or perspective if they're not going to be outside of their bubble.
Well, look. There's two scenarios that changed real quick: weed and gays. right? So like gay marriage changed really fast. I mean, wouldn't you guys say in the general history of our country that shit changed real fast? And I, for one, went to a gay bar and saw a guy who brought his dad there, and the dad he walked out of that a different man, and there wasn't this shame of having a gay son, and that was only a one guy, but like it all spiraled. And the same thing happened with weed in this country. Like immediately the thoughts on weed have changed considerably. And so
why do you think women can't get a fucking break?
I'm not saying that I think what's happened recently is that there was a giant push that happened kind of below the iceberg, below the sea level, a giant push for this pro-life thing. And I don't think pro-choice people were ready for it. So there's a lot of false information out there.
Well, yeah, because supposedly we settled this in the 70s.
Yeah, there was a complacency there, but it's like, just knowing that the sort of Supreme Court dynamic is changing a little bit, I think that's had something to do with the push, and just like making these extreme things, gonna create lawsuits, gonna send it to the Supreme Court, going to like put them in the position to try and overturn it. Like, and that's what they need to do, is like have enough that might get through.
But we know for the most part, the politicians, they've all had a lot of them have had abortions. They've had, side things, they've knocked people up. So like, we know that they're not the moral fiber. So it really comes down to, can you educate their constituents, and will that happen in the next election? And like I said, if it can happen with weed, if it can happen with gay rights, I just think that it's good to fight against it, but I think that the pro-choice people were and the Democrats have had this issue all along, where like Republicans have gerrymandered and done a lot of things to really fight the fight in their favor, where they don't win the popular election, and you know what I mean. So again, and it's I have no hatred or any sort of feelings towards Republicans. I think it's just gone in a direction that's less about political divide and more about everyone's just jockeying for like where they stand morally. And I'm just telling people they need to just do some more research. I do it too, because I hate what I see on CNN and in a lot of left-wing places. I'm what I would consider like traditionally liberal, but like I just see these things that are just like flat out lies in my face. I see it. I think Bernie's being suppressed right now, and Tulsi Gabbard can't get any press or whatever, and they're the ones that are going on Fox News and like convincing a lot of conservatives that they have good points. You know what I mean? They're the ones that are like smart to want to go talk to everyone in our country, and then you got Elizabeth Warren who's like, I won't go on Fox News. It's like, you won't talk to half the country you want to represent. And a lot of those are the issues where like, well, maybe a lot of people that watch Fox News would listen to a strong woman like Tulsi Gabbard talk about why it's important to be pro-choice, but they're not even getting that voice. They're not even getting that.
And I guess it doesn't look good to be like, oh, see, she won't even talk to us. Like, why bother listening?
It's easy to spin it in the other. Yeah, exactly. It's easy to spin that in the wrong direction.
I think both sides are making a lot of mistakes that to me are just like, this is so simple, guys. Like, why are we doing this?
Because Trump's a Democrat. In heart, he's been one his whole life. He's been a pro-choice guy his whole life. He's been pro-choice, pro-gay. He actually, aside from like his own like philanthropying, is that the word?
No.
Philandering? What's the word? Philandering? Aside from like his own shitty PR, he actually stands on a lot of decent issues if he like kept those, but he started playing towards a different base. I'm not pro Trump, and I'm not pro a lot of things. I just think it needs to not be life or death when we talk to people of different opinions and just oh, it's interesting to listen to that.
But it truly is a matter of life or death, because if you make abortion illegal, it just means more women are going to die trying to get legal.
I just think by treating it like life or death, you're repelling the opposition, is my point. Would you agree?
They're treating it like life or death too.
But that's the thing. You need to go, okay, I see what you're saying. I'm listening to you. And it's like in a communist world where they would like fly over and drop pamphlets of like news. You need to know that sometimes people aren't getting the same news you're getting, and you just have the conversation. And anyway, if
it's worth it,
But you can't just tell people they're shitty for thinking they're pro-life. No, it's like good for you for not wanting to kill.
Like like you said, like we're not really helping our case by not being open to people that can change or evolve, but like it's because I've been in so many conversations where like the conversation doesn't even stay on topic. It just becomes like a ridiculous way to win. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm respecting you, and now you're not respecting me, and it's like, this is a waste of time. We just have to agree to disagree. But like, I don't think people are bad. I think they have their reasons for doing things, but I also think like this shouldn't even be an issue. It's so simple.
It should not be an issue for sure.
I wish that we could expect like a little bit of higher level thinking from more people, a little bit like less. I don't know. I just find that in general, a lot of people are so like trapped in their own box and they don't want to expand their thought. They don't want to learn more. They don't want to see things from different perspectives. And I wish that we could just expect a little better out of the average American.
Yeah.
And what do you do when you don't get that?
Give up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Give up.
Make a shirt. Sell it to people. Give the people I like money. Yeah.
What is the general pro-choice agreed upon times where an abortion's it's too far to have an abortion, assuming that it's not because the mother's
doctor's choice.
Yeah, I just think it's up to the doctor and the woman that's dealing with it.
But what does a doctor say? Like what it used to be like somewhere in the between the first and second trimester, right? Where it's like at this point it's not a good.
Well, and different states have different rules.
It should just be a general thing, right?
Well, but here's the thing, Dave, and what a lot of people don't seem to understand is like if you're have a pregnancy even late in the game and that baby dies for whatever reason, it's not gonna be a live baby, to get that out, it's called an abortion.
Right, but that should always be legal.
Dave, I think like it's like a case by case basis too, because like you don't know what can go wrong in a pregnancy and you don't want to force anybody to have it if it's going to be a danger to their health or just like something
or if it's going to be born without lungs and a kidney,
right? And then it's going to and then it's going to suffer like immensely. And I just think what it comes down to is I don't believe that there's any woman out there that is like just going along with her pregnancy, super excited about her baby, and then at like month 7 she's like, you know what, fuck it, I don't want it anymore. Get rid of it. That is so absurd and ridiculous.
I think a lot of the Democratic presidential candidates that talk about the issue don't do a good job of explaining that.
Yeah,
because I think they're trying to be baited into saying that they'll do a late-term abortion, and what the truth is that there are situations that happen medically where that needs to happen, and that is 1% of the cases. It's not a normal thing. If both sides,
you have to protect people in whatever their circumstance might be.
Right.
So like if they say, you can't write a law with exceptions for XYZ because you're not going to think about all exceptions. And then you're going to put people in a position where they have to deliver a baby that's not going to make it more than 3 days. And like you said, going to suffer immensely, or it puts the woman's life at risk and both mom and baby die. I mean, there are literally, you can look on the internet and there are hundreds of examples of things where like women should have been allowed to medically extricate this thing from inside them in order to live, or for whatever reasons, and they didn't get to because of laws like this that prevent abortions at whatever stage, blah blah blah. And now mom's dead, baby's dead, permanent damage. It's awful.
And to that point too, like you were even outside of just the woman is pregnant and now we're talking about abortion, like there's laws around before a woman is even pregnant that just sort of shows you that it's more about a control, and it's sort of that mindset of like the woman is just meant as like a host to reproduce, right? And anything else outside of that, like it's everyone else's opinion but hers. Like I was reading this story the other day about this woman who needed to get a hysterectomy so that because she had this condition that was sort of like, even every time she got pregnant, she would definitely have a miscarriage and it could put her body in danger and kill her if she got pregnant again. So when she went to get the hysterectomy, she had to go through all these hoops. Like, I have to talk to my doctor. I have to get my husband to agree with this because like, you're so young, you're of reproductive age. You could make many babies, which is like, what is this?
Yeah.
Whereas like a man needs to, so her husband was just like, all right, I'll just like, get a vasectomy. Easy peasy. Call my doctor. I get a vasectomy.
I couldn't
so
even
like, why
get an
is
IUD because I didn't have children yet, and they were afraid that an IUD could potentially like puncture your uterus and make you sterile. And this is in lots of states, and lots of doctors have their own. I don't know if it's states' criteria or doctors' criteria, but I read a story about a woman who was trying to get her tubes tied, and she needed to be at least 25, have her husband's permission, and have a son and a daughter.
Yeah, which is like the control starts before you even have it. It's like we're policed before that. So like, don't even try to pretend that all you care about is a heartbeat, because that's
look, hey, I'm definitely on your side. I just I think it's an issue where you're dealing with fighting different fights and education that's.
But can you imagine like going in and asking for a vasectomy and they told you no, you needed to wait 6 months and think it over, or no, you're not allowed, you need your wife's permission, and do you have a son and a daughter? It's just like, no one would ever ask that of you, and I feel like it's hard for you to even imagine a world in which that's the case.
Yeah.
But this is our reality every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's complicated because we shouldn't be there in society. We shouldn't be having these discussions over a glass of wine.
We got heated in here, guys.
No, look, but my worry is always, my worry with a lot of liberal thought is that it gets too much on the we versus them. We shouldn't do this. And it becomes so one-sided that it's not, we're talking about half the country here that has a different opinion. And I think that we're way more closer. I think that the percentage of Democrats, or I don't even like to use political parties, but the percentage of left-leaning and right-leaning people, probably 80 or 90% all sort of are within somewhere in the center with the issues. And when you draw a line in the sand like this, you're forced to have people like make a choice on which side you're on. But we are really closer to this.
What line has been drawn in the sand? I would say if you're saying that people are moving to extremes, it's happening on both sides, not just on one side.
No, I'm saying this. Drop some.
That's a bottle of wine.
I'm saying
it's
this.
empty.
Party. I think that if you believe that you're killing humans by having an abortion, I think that's you can put yourself in their shoes and think that, well, if that's what you believe in, that you're committing murder, then that's a pretty strong stance that they're taking.
But not allowing that is also committing murder against women who are alive.
Yeah. That's why it's a complicated thing, because you got to look at it from both sides and go, okay, well, in the end, like any communicating, right? You have to look at people's intentions to go, look, I can see there being some pretty like shitty legislator people that want, to keep their control away from the ladies. But I think for the most part, people want what they think is good morally. And you have to give them the benefit of the doubt while giving them a little bit of compassion. Because when you meet somebody, when you're out at a bar crawl and you meet somebody and you don't have a Make America Great hat on, you're just another person having a drink. You're just two humans. You know what I mean? When the aliens come to fight us, we're all humans fighting the aliens. But right now...
I just read something interesting, though, and I'd like to, when you think about like Handmaid's Tale or like 1984 type stuff, it's like... giving them the benefit of the doubt and showing them compassion like doesn't really work when you think about like what could really, really go wrong. And here's the thing. Alabama, right? They are going to make it a criminal offense to have an abortion. It's against the law to have an abortion. If you have an abortion, then you go to jail. Guess what? Felons can't vote. So now you're taking away, and this is only targeted to 50% of the population, which happen to be women. So now all of a sudden you have all of these people in this like prison industrial complex, and women have no say on the future of this country. You know what I mean? It's just like it's got all of these like ramifications that are like super way out there and crazy.
All I'm saying is this: after Trump got elected, there was a blue wave of people getting into the race. How many black females became judges, right? There was all these different little scenarios where even in Atlanta, all these different places where like races were fucking like intense. There's all these purple states that used to be red states. I think that. Again, that this pro-life agenda was like this conspiracy kind of all happened and just was like overtook, all these different states. But I think that in the end, you're going to see people are going to vote and it's going to write its course. I can understand you being afraid. I just don't think telling a bunch of conservatives that they're pieces of shit and they don't know what they're talking about.
But nobody's doing that. I'm sorry if they feel that way when I start spewing facts.
No, but but a lot of people are online.
That's what I'm saying. Like on either side, people are making huge mistakes that are like dividing people further. Like I don't think everybody's a piece of shit until they are a piece of shit and are like yelling at me, calling me a baby killer. Yeah. But like honestly, like I think everybody has the good intention. Like they think that they're doing the right thing. They think they're the good guy and I'm the bad guy. But nobody knows
the art of like respectful debate anymore. And also Facebook's not the place.
No, Facebook is definitely not.
Not conducive.
It's like screaming into a void and it's just, and there's never facts. We got fake memes out there and I'm just like, everybody looks like an idiot. Stop. I hate it.
Well then. Yeah, I mean, look, I just, I'll beat that drum till the day I die, till a mob takes me over, that I think that like respectful discourse is going to be the thing. And I think that, you just, like I said before, just look where they don't want you to look. And that's where the answers are. But we do have to sort of get out of here. So again, people can find your... Now, what's the shirt tagline again?
It's called Unapologetically Pro-Choice.
I don't want to really end on the pro-choice talk, though.
Let's talk about something else then.
Yeah,
so I want to know...
so heated.
I didn't make it. I didn't make it anything. It's a war zone out there.
I think that the lid convo was way more heated than the pro-choice convo. For sure.
So where's your relationship? Are you worried? Are you worried to get into another marriage? Is that something that's like,
no, I'm not actually, because like I said, I met somebody that I was like, shit, dude, you're fucking awesome, and this is easy. So yeah, I'd totally marry you for sure. But before I met him, I was like, never again. Fuck this. This is an institution. But I do not necessarily want to be like doing the same traditional stuff that I did in my last wedding. See, that's what's so annoying about it. It's like, oh, my last wedding, but like I felt like, although my first wedding was amazing, like I don't regret it still. I had a blast. I was in a Caribbean country for a week with my friends, like jumping in turquoise water. It was so much fun.
It sounds like a blast.
It was so much fun. Like, but I will say that like there were a lot of like little stupid parts that I was like, this wasn't really necessary, that I just kind of did for the sake of everyone else, like for the moms or the grandmas.
Like what? Like what would you not do again?
Well, just like, the whole like rigidity of like tradition and the ceremony and like centerpieces and having to spend a ton of money. And like, I love the celebration idea and the party, but like, I don't think you have to have, it's like, if you guys get married, you'll find out that like an event that you think is about you is not about you. And you end up like hating the planning of it because people start like being so entitled, like out of nowhere. Like, you have like a bridal party, which in its own self is like a little bit of bullshit, because then you have to rank your friends and family and like in order, and like whoever's standing further away from you at the altar is like, well, why the fuck am I third?
Yeah.
What's going on? And it's like, oh my God, what are you going to stack on top of each other? Like, no,
yeah, it's
like,
your billing, your cast
what am I supposed to do? Like, so it ends up being like whoever's going to be the most mad gets the most stuff, and like whatever makes it easier on you, the bride or the groom. And like, I will just say, like, if you guys better plan it together, because like the woman having to do it all by herself, wow, that's annoying,
Well, look, I mean, yeah, so we should not do bridesmaids. Is that what you're saying? Should we not do that?
When it comes down to us, I think we're gonna just have to look at how much is this gonna cost.
I think we should totally. I love the idea of stripping away everything and then saying, what do we want? All right, cake.
That's what you should do.
Cake or some sweet, some form of dessert. Okay, we got the dancing DJs. Sure. Bridesmaids, no.
Well, just like if you want that, like it depends what you want to do. Like a lot of parts of that stuff is fun, but like what ends up not being fun is all the opinions and all that. Well, you're supposed to do it like this. Well, what about that? Like, you have to do this, and just like go into it. I would say with like, there's no rules. It does not have to be like this. Does this sound appealing to you? Then do it. If not, don't do it. But just know that there's going to be some people that are going to be like, but you have to. And you're just going to, it's going to be real stressful for no reason.
I feel like my mom will be pretty hands off about it. Like, I feel like a lot of times it's the moms and mother-in-laws that are like, really like think it's about them, and you're like, this is my wedding, hello.
Yeah, they always say it's the wedding my mother-in-law always dreamed of.
And that's why like Bridezillas are created, which like I love that show, by the way, watching the Bridezillas just flip out. But I'm like, I get it though, but I also don't, because I'm like, some of them are just maniacs. But there is a level of like, a reason why this person is flipping out is because they're just trying to do something that should be simple, show their love for this other person, and you are just making it about you and so much harder. And it's just very remarkable how that happens so easily.
I had a buddy, I think yesterday I saw on his Instagram, he went to a engagement party and it turned out to be the wedding. And that's what I've said all along.
Oh, like it's a prize?
I said that all along. Oh. You just show up, you show up and you say, gotcha.
Your friends and family, oh, we're having a little thing. Hope you can make it. And if they can't, fuck you.
No, that's actually kind of good, because you get the people there that you care about, but then you take away that part where they're like, oh, cool, I'm going to like insert my opinion here. Because they just think this is the engagement part. This is just the beginning. Yeah,
I think that's it.
Actually, a pretty good idea.
I think we either do
and your
that.
friends that were coming up with excuses for why they could.
And we could bring like fun. We could bring like fun party hats and like like a 1920s style like top hats and things like that, and people can like whatever you're wearing, put it on and just party. I don't know.
Yeah, what would your theme be? Let's play a fun game where we ask what your theme would be, what you'd want out of a wedding, and see how much you guys overlap. Because I don't know if you've talked about it.
Mine would be so fraternity based.
Oh
just,
my god,
just douchebaggery like cornhole and
at the
stupid
wedding
games. Yeah, like fun like drinking games, and like I would like a Mumford and Sons style band. I really would love like everyone just rolled their jeans up and had a good old
He's
hoedown.
fucking with us right now.
No, seriously.
I'm cool with like a Mumford style band. Actually, I'm cool with like a.
Just no cornhole.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Cornhole and flip cup are out of the question.
What if it's like really fancy cups?
Yeah, flip chalice.
Like crystal glasses.
Chalice.
But yeah, like the idea of making it not about everybody, but about the event. And I think most people have the most fun when they're kind of like not living up to some expectation of what something's supposed to be. And you're just not, and we're never going to compete with the weddings we've been to. We've been to weddings where it's like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? What course are we on? You know what I mean? It's like, and then you're just, and then I'm still going to vomit in the toilet at the end of the night because I drank too much curacao mixed with whatever. Curacao. I'm just, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's cool. It'd be cool to throw a $200,000 wedding. That would be cool.
Oh
but
my
also,
God, that's
like,
so disgusting.
if you have the money and it doesn't feel like anything, fine. But
Who
also,
can have a $200,000 wedding?
Billionaires.
We've been to a couple weddings that are like, Jesus Christ, right? We've been to some weddings that are just stupid.
I've just got no desire to like. It's just not on my. It's not things that make me excited to like pick out place settings and napkins. Like that's just not my thing. I feel like I would be perfectly happy going to some. I'm all about the destination wedding. I know people are getting shitty about it, but I'm all about the destination wedding. I think it helps keep the guest list small.
Oh,
and like if you want to come and have a little mini vacation and celebrate with us, great. If you can't make it, we're totally cool with that too. Keep the guest list small. Write one check. They can pick the flowers. They can pick the menu. They can pick the band or whatever. Like get our friends and family in one spot. Have a giant party. Take some pictures.
It doesn't make it more expensive to do destination either. Because like you said, it keeps the guest list low. And like half the time, like in other countries, they don't put as much weight on spending exorbitant amounts of money on weddings. Like...
Did you guys have a like financial discussions when it came down to like, because I feel like one of the biggest indicators of people's relationships not working out is financial issues, and yet so many relationships
That's the reason most people get divorced too.
Yeah,
and so many relationships start on just a fucking wedding that puts you in the hole.
Yeah.
Like,
well, no. Luckily for me, like my mom fronted this bill, with the exception of I think she paid for all of it. Yeah. So so it was like very lucky that wasn't an issue. For us, like the financial stuff just came up later when it was like, oh, I work real hard, you don't work at all. This is causing me a lot of debt, But
it's almost like if you had known in the first place, like you could have gotten a better understanding of really what you were in store for. I think I'm really proud of Dave and I lately because we've been talking a lot about money and just like making sure that our goals are aligned.
Right.
And I think that's super important. Oh, look, it's raining and it's sunny outside. There's got to be a rainbow.
We're going to see a rainbow.
Who knew? Yeah, but
no, I think that's really important, especially because like people have this idea with weddings, like, oh, the moment you get married, automatically your finances are combined, which is not true. Like, I think it's important to like have your own separate shit and then also have your joined stuff. But having the conversations of like, what are we willing to do? What do we really want? Do you want to travel? Do you want to save money for a house? Do you want to do all this stuff? Like, what are you willing to put into it? And if you align and are compatible in those ways, that's great. Like, I was unfortunately in a situation where I was with somebody who like had parents who were together and were traditionally married, and the mom didn't work and the dad did. And like, for some reason it didn't translate because it was like, oh, well, we're married. What do you mean? I just take your credit card and like you pay it. And I'm like, yeah, but no, like we're equal. We split things. You don't have 4 kids you're taking care of. Like, well, my parents did this. Yeah. You are not taking care of 4 children. Like, you're just a regular white guy with a degree that just is lazy. Like, get a job. Like, come on.
What the hell?
And it's just like that sort of shit is that entitlement. And like, you have these conversations, but then maybe people don't listen. But I mean, you guys have been kind of like acting as married for a while. You're co-living together, paying for things together.
Yeah, we started looking at a few apps that you can like save money together on.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem, and again, we'll get out of here soon. Thanks for listening. The biggest problem, by the way, I like long episodes. I think long episodes are better. We have a good conversation. People can tune in when they've got the free time.
How long is it normally?
Well, we like to aim for an hour, but if we hit 2 hours, we hit 2 hours. We're getting there. My biggest thing is like I want to be providing more financially than where I'm at. And Tasha's done a good job of letting me know, like, dude, you're like getting older, and you're not like making that much money. It's crazy because I don't want to take a job that pays the bills that I'm not passionate about, because that will destroy me from the inside out. That it will be my radiation right away. But also, I need to know that I'm worth more than nothing. So here I am on the side, doing my side gigs, but also writing my pilot, being like, is this thing going to buy us a house? Is the podcast going to buy us a house? Like, these are the things that I love, that I'm doing with the highest level of energy, that I just hope. I know we're huge in Namibia, we're in Mali, we're huge in Africa, apparently. Ranked 145th. Thank you very much, Kevin Hart. Or whatever. But, we're ranked...
this guy.
I broke the thing. They can't hear. I just kicked that wine over again. We're ranked like 1,200 in the comedy podcast in the States, right? And I go, look, where I know we are on the downloads, if we have 40 times the amount of audience, we will own a home. This will be my full-time job. I won't do the side gigs I do, where I got to meet people and be a fucking asshole, and all those things. And so I see the statistics of where
every one of our listeners has to tell 40 people to subscribe.
39. If every one of you could just get 39 of your closest friends and family, it's like a multi-market. But I know as you climb the charts from 1,200 to 900 to 400 to 100, I know as you climb those charts, you become more visible, and it's not about you getting your 39 people listening. It's about you getting your 2 friends to listen, and then it multiplies a lot faster. And again, it's at a place where our podcast is in the top 5% of all the podcasts that have ever existed in the history of the world. We are in the top 5%. Thank you so much. That's amazing. It's just that 1% is the one that you need to be at, and we're fighting for it. But it's like at what point I'm trying to make this financial. At what point am I busting my ass doing this versus like working at Enterprise, hating my life? Like, I just see it.
But I think that's the thing, dude. Like we were talking about earlier, like having that drive and ambition. Like, you're a hardworking comic, actor, writer. Like, I see you everywhere. You're doing your thing, and it does take time. But like, the way to not get there is to spend too much energy doing the wrong thing. And for sure, if you need to
but your bills have to be paid. Yeah, needs
definitely pick up a second job, but like, just know, like, you can do all the things. Like, you can work several jobs. Sure, it'll be hard, but you won't have to do it forever. Just definitely don't trade one for the other.
We have the same amount of hours in the day as like Michelangelo, right? Or like Mother Teresa. Like, we all get the same amount of hours in the day. It's really just about where you focus your time and what are your priorities.
And just don't trade one for the other. Don't be like, well, I better stop doing my podcast or my stand-up or writing my pilot because I need stuff. Like, figure out how you can do both.
Well, that's the thing, is I look at the podcast and my stand-up and I go, okay, you don't get paid. And again, not to set limitations, but you write these jokes, right? You build up an act, you spend years doing it. You get paid when you get paid, and it's healthy and it's good money. And it's like, when the podcast is ready to flourish, there's a ton. I mean, I'm talking like, there's a reason why all these A-listers are getting involved in it, because like it's a simple medium and it's got high returns. But yeah, like, it's something will. If I have to go do a 50-hour a week other gig, something is going to, like, if I have to go be a bartender every night of the week, I'm not going to be on stage getting that every minute closer.
That's not the right choice.
Yeah, and then you have to figure out something else. But what other skills do you have that you can use?
9 to 5 leaves 5:30 to 9:30.
Yeah, no, 9 to 5.
But then
sure, even though it's not technically 9 to 5, like, my schedule, because it's more day based, is very helpful for everything else.
Yeah, but then our relationship requires a lot of time and energy too. So then you have to wonder, like,
weekends. Yeah, I mean,
there's just a lot of questions.
Things require sacrifice. We've talked about this many times. Like, and it comes with really defining your priorities. I've said this before. I think it's a really good analogy. Like, you can't expect to have it all. That's a sort of like idealistic viewpoint that I think a lot of younger people have, millennials have. Like, if you decide you want to be a doctor, you're going to be in school for another 8 years beyond, you know what I mean? You are signing up for pretty much losing a decade to school, and then you're signing up to do, what do they call them, like rotations or whatever, residency yeah residency, and you're gonna have a lot of student debt, and you're gonna be behind when it comes to finding a partner. Not necessarily, but like, you have to expect that that's part of the thing. It's like, when you're dedicating your life to going to school for another decade to be highly specialized, that you might not have time for a relationship, and you might not get married until you're 50, and maybe it'll be too late for you to have kids. And like, you define your priorities. You knew that this was what you wanted to do, that this was the thing that was most important to you. And there's no guarantee that all of this other stuff is going to be there waiting for you when it finally is your time.
Yeah.
Do you stress out over the thought of just getting older and not having the sort of higher level of success? Like, is that something that keeps you up at night?
Oh, I mean, for me, no, not really. Like, because to me, I kind of like, for sure, want to be able to get paid just for the things that I enjoy doing and not having a day job. But like, I'm lucky in that I love my day job and it's also creative. So I get to, design things and do things, create art, even though it's like graphic art, not necessarily like always the coolest stuff. Like, it's still fun and I enjoy it. And of course there's, annoying parts, but I'm lucky enough that part is okay. And then when it comes to comedy and everything else, like, I already enjoy what I'm doing so much already that I'm like, to me, this is exactly where I wanted to be when I was like 10 years ago. I was like, how cool would it be if I was like living in LA, affording an apartment and doing stand up and, filming stuff and like just enjoying that sort of stuff. And like, I'm doing all of that right now. So to me, I'm like, I've already done what I wanted to do. Anything from here is just like a bonus.
So you feel like you've pretty much filled up your creative well, like you're doing what you need to do.
Well, certainly everybody could work harder and I could work harder and there's so much more I want to create, but like, I don't have like that, like, oh man, am I ever going to make it? I haven't, I'm working so hard and I still haven't like made it and become famous yet. Like, I'm almost a little like afraid of that because I'm like, I'm not ready to be like, hey, come make your hour-long Netflix special. I'm like, okay, I've been doing comedy for like 4 or 5 years. Like, I'm not ready to do that and just like get ahead way too fast to where you just like blow it, but like I am having so much fun doing it that I'm like, I've already made it in my brain. I still want to work hard and I will never like be complacent with it because obviously you can always do more, but I'm just like, everything cool that happens, I'm like, oh man, what a bonus. I love it.
Yeah, that's a really great like creative place to be, just to like feel like you're doing, because I'm assuming we've all been there where you're not doing that and you're like, I feel like if I just had more money or I had this extra time or I had the balls, I could try this or that. I remember before I ever did stand-ups, I was like kind of having it like that, flirting with the idea of it and being like, oh man, like wouldn't that be cool if I could do that?
Yeah.
And then when you actually get to doing it, you realize you release a lot of that tension.
But then there's another bar to hit for sure.
Yeah, there's always going to be another bar to hit. But yeah, I mean, I have nights where I do stand up and I go, geez, I've done it for like 7 years now. I'm feeling like I'm pretty good at it. Like I'm starting to have a lot of fun up there.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, fun? Yeah, that's why I started this. I'm supposed to have fun.
You have to remember
you're just gonna suck for a bit.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have fun, and then you're gonna try to make that fun longer, and then with new jokes and funnier. Yeah. And yeah, you just try to get to a place where you go, oh, I'm like entering my area of excellence, where I want to be. And of course, like with comedy, they say, 7 years, that's nothing. You know what I mean? So while I feel that, I also know to a 15-year vet, that's nothing. But to like a first-year guy, they want to talk to me after the set. And they want to be like, wow. And they want to ask me all these questions. And I'm like, I used to be you talking to me. And so it's about just like appreciating the path and knowing that like you're feeding the creative side of you. Right. And I know with Tasha, we talk about like, and it's crazy to me that like sometimes Tasha, I know I'm not trying to speak for you, but you wonder like what your sort of like mission in life is while you're here being an excellent voice on a podcast, thinking you're not doing enough. You know what I mean?
Well, we're never doing enough, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing. You never feel satisfied. You never feel like you've made it. You always are just like on the journey and hoping for bigger and better.
But Jess, she goes, I just don't know what I want to do and this and that. And I go, you've been hosting this podcast for years with me. You got somebody listening in every state in the country, Namibia, Mali. We got a dude in Australia who listens during his chemo. Like, really?
That's awesome.
And you're wondering, like, I think you're doing what you need to do. And I've been telling her I think she should start her own podcast and just do her own thing.
But I think that's important to have that support and to remind each other, because like, don't get me wrong, like I love what I'm doing and I'm happy and I still like, of course, have higher goals, but I'm not by any means like frustrated. But I certainly have those days where I'm like, what am I, why am I doing this? I should quit everything. Like everybody has those down days that they feel like they're a little lost,
Yeah.
But that's what you're kind of figuring out. Like you said, you've been doing this podcast for a few years. You're really good at it. Oh, that's like a thing maybe before you didn't know you were good at, that you can now like put more energy into.
Totally. They're all like little stepping stones.
Yeah.
And you know what blows my mind? I mean, there are some people that they take the right ass shot and they've got millions of followers, right? Or even some of these quote unquote travel bloggers. What are you fucking doing? You just took a slow motion video at a fountain. You know what I mean? Like that's not. But like, so
but that's something that you guys are good at. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but like I saw the sloth video. I saw this sloth video the other day. Like, and it's just like things that you guys put together, and like you're such a cute couple, and you have fun, and you do these interesting things. Like you could be a travel blogger if that's what you wanted to do, and like taking that energy.
Sloth videos
every day.
But it's just like, but it's just
what
like
are we doing today?
Like
sloth bingo.
Like you're doing something together that you already like to do. Like how could you capitalize on what you guys are? Like you've already been hired to like do model shoots together. Like there's clearly like there's like a value there that you
like
could be.
Tasha cares a lot about, you know, she was involved with the Basset Hound Rescue League or whatever. Like she cares a lot about different, like Whitney Cummings is kind of like similar with like they care a lot about like a lot of animal rights and she's got a general curiosity towards that. And it's like, well, then you're, you know, because Tasha studied fashion and at DAPS, the design and
Good, you're good try. Design, art, architecture planning.
Design, art, architecture planning. It's at the University of Cincinnati, and it's a very prestigious school. And it's like just
Very
because you got
cool.
plucked away to be a model doesn't mean you can't be like the host and the face of whatever it is you're passionate about. Like when I
Right.
used to study marketing, it'd be like, well, the idea is not to just work in marketing. The idea is to market things I love. So only apply to companies that you love. And for anyone listening, it's like take whatever your skill set is and apply it to what it is that you love. So for Tasha, it's like, yeah, you're a beautiful woman who can be a spokesmodel for whatever, but maybe the highest version of Tasha is to be a spokesperson for what it is that you love. And I know you get mad at me for that. I can't do like a better job of like producing your videos or whatever, but like I just like I'm caught up in my own thing, and I want to help you when you decide it is what it is that you want to do. And I think that there will be riches for you when you figure out what that is. But I also know I sent you this meme yesterday. Do you see that one where it's like when you grow up like a perfectionist, a valedictorian, straight A's, when you make any mistakes as an adult, you just don't want to do it because you don't want to fail. And I feel like Tasha, it's that paralysis by perfection or whatever the fuck it's called.
That whole perfectionism thing where it's like actually like a hindrance rather than a help.
We fail every day.
You have to fail all the time. That's the only way you get better, or figure out, like maybe you figure out, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. But you don't figure that out by failing. Not at all. Like
I read something I thought was super interesting, and they were saying like your first one, whatever it is, always sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Duh. Expect
better.
that,
The
but you
first
don't get
pancake
to
always sucks.
1,000 without doing one.
Right.
So you write your first article or poem or
Yeah.
go to an open mic or whatever. You do your first one and it sucks. Yeah, we all know it's gonna suck. That's fine.
Right. And also know that you can do really well and most people like it, but you're always going to get that thumbs down on YouTube. You're always going to get that one motherfucker in his mom's basement that's like, boo, I don't like this. You know, like, so not everybody is always going to like you, and you have to be okay with that too.
And there's enough of the people watching or potential audience out there to be okay with just being super niche. Yeah, like, I mean, and again, I've failed my whole life. Like, I pitch, right? I play baseball. Like, pitching is very hard to do. You're going to fail more than you succeed, and the whole team's going to know. If you can't throw that fucking strike, they're all going to know. I've failed since I was 4 years old. I failed playing baseball is a sport of failure. Every other sport I've played, I've failed in my whole life, and I still, like a dumbass dog, just show up to the field ready to play. And stand up, you fail. Acting, you fail.
And then
I've
you
been
finally
fired.
get like one time where you're like,
and you remember that on the inside, and you go, oh, I fucking got this. And then you fail again, and then you grow and you learn. And for whatever reason, with social media, you see these people that are all succeeding at the age of 19, right? You see just these people that for some algorithm, and don't get me wrong, they're gonna fall really hard. That's gonna be their own problem. But for you, Tasha, it's like you've set yourself up with all these different ways that you're going to succeed, and like it's hard to know what direction to run in when you don't have the compass, right? But like learning how to edit something when you really want to edit that, like learning when you want to write and produce your own project, you got best actress for it. That's fucking awesome.
which was like crazy.
And that wasn't your goal.
No, it was. I expected nothing out of it at all. I was just like so surprised that we even got into the festival, and then after that, I was like, what? I thought they made a mistake at first. I was like, is this really a thing? Yeah.
And that's just the breadcrumb we talk about. That's the breadcrumb. Go follow it.
But it's
right?
also, it took the doing it to even have the opportunity, because like I wouldn't have even necessarily submitted to the festival if Landon didn't force me to do it. I wouldn't have acted in that role if my friend Chris, the director, didn't tell me to do it. You know, so it's like, oh man, when people support you, that's so helpful to give you the courage to maybe go out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so like I listened to two people that I respect their opinion, and it just really blew up amazingly. So,
well, Jess, what do you do when Monday's Memorial Day? What do you do when Tuesday morning rolls around and it's 8 a.m. and it's time to get up and create? Like, what do you do? How do you encourage people to pursue their thing when it's still not defined? How do you follow the compass of like what feels good to do?
I just kind of feel like just accepting the fact that like there is no definition or answer, and even if you think there is one, like be okay with it changing, because I think so many people get paralyzed because they grow up with this identity. They're like, I was always going to be an actor, I was always going to be this thing, and then maybe when you get older or you've been doing it a lot, you know, for failure or for not failing, like you just kind of aren't really as into it anymore. So be okay with like knowing that you're still always figuring it out. Like that always helps me. Like, you know, I've had times with stand-up where I'm like, oh, this is just kind of a side thing. But then I'm like, no, I kind of have to do this because otherwise I'm uncomfortable. Like if I'm not doing stand-up, I feel like I judge myself. I'm like, it's somehow therapeutic, but also the worst at the same time, you know, to where like I get there, I'm like, why do I do this? Like, why do I invite so many people? Like when they come, like I'm so stressed, but like it's always so great. But I also know I'm like, oh, okay, I've realized like I don't necessarily want to be, you know, making it harder than it has to be. I don't want to be like a road comic that just has to like stay at crappy hotels and just like tour around and like make my life miserable. But I will do that on my own terms. Like I know that I like hosting because that helps me with mics, because like I actually get to have fun versus just bomb as I try new things, you know? So like it's just taking that day to day of like, okay, here's what I want to do. That try not to be so hard on yourself, because that's so paralyzing.
That's the key.
Like it's like don't be your worst enemy, which you already are. Like that's like the only way I get through the day. Like I wouldn't even get out of bed half the time. It's very, very hard. You know,
I mean,
it's just like
Tasha, I'm putting you on the spot. We're 2 hours and 4 minutes in, so we got to wrap up. I'm putting you on the spot. You are by far the meanest person to yourself.
Oh.
I took this photo of her in this pink onesie, and it
just wasn't a good babe.
Jess,
Listen,
I'm going to make you look at this photo,
no,
and you're going to punch Tasha in the
photo.
face.
The reason that photo never got posted is because the way, like, you couldn't crop it nice.
No.
You could only crop my head off or my feet off.
Well, you probably looked real hot, but
you know what I mean?
There's probably like a girl type
the
thing.
Thigh gap.
Yeah, like no, there's probably like a girl type thing where I'm like, I have this little chin thing, and I'm like, no, that's not.
All I'm saying is,
and it's so stupid, but like that's all I can see. You know,
I get so mad or so frustrated, and that's why like for several years I've just stopped trying to coach her on her social, because I'm like, I could literally take photos you've already posted and recirculate them and build your following, and but she'll like look at it and just fuck it, and just like it's and I understand it stresses you out, but I want you to know that.
But you don't you really don't do a good job of helping me to take good new photos, truthfully, because it's never on your mind. So like we go out and do like fun things or like go to events or whatever, and not once did you ask me like, hey, let me take a photo of you right here.
I do it all the time.
No, you don't.
And like
Tasha, could you ask him? Be like, oh, Dave, do you mind taking a photo of me? Why is the onus on him to ask you to take the photo?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. I could, but here's the thing. It always ends up like it's a very high stress situation for us. So it's almost like, let's not even fucking bother.
You're
so
right.
are you self-sabotaging yourself then by being like, and then being like, oh, Dave didn't ask, so that's why we didn't do it.
But when I do ask about stuff, we just like, Dave's not really good at taking direction. One, he likes to do things his way. You're just not super collaborative about like, oh, we'll try some your way and then try some my way. And you kind of get argumentative, like when I'm telling you I want something done this way, like I'm trying to boss you around.
And then you'll be stressed out because we'll be out in public and it'll feel like fights. No, you're right in the sense that fights come up out of nowhere when it's about getting that Instagram
But
photo.
if you guys are in a stress moment and you know, like, why not like before you even go and you know it's going to be like a picturesque place, be like, hey, do you think we should like maybe take some photos tonight, and then sort of just talk about what to expect, especially if you know it's going to be high stress. Like if you only have like a second in front of the step and repeat or whatever the whole thing is, you can be like, all right, we're going to take a couple photos. We're going to do like 3 your way, 3 my way. Boom, done.
Yeah.
And then like also both just agree that like it's a huge waste of time to get in an argument about a photo.
Yeah, and generally these are just landmines you step on. They're not something
but like if you take the stress out of it by like knowing ahead of time.
Yeah, you never like sort of want that to be the case, and then some explosion happens and it's too late. You're like, oh fuck. But yeah, like my whole point is that you've got more to offer than just a butt photo, and the social media you need to find a way. We need to find a way that you get to offer that through the social media, and find your medium, and be happy with that, and not worry about like what do I need to do with my life, this and that. Like, you're enough. What you can do is enough, and like, you've done modeling and you've been in this world for long enough of a time that like, don't be discouraged if some 19-year-old with a nice ass, who, by the way, could never book a job in their life because they look so hideous, but they just take a good photo of the wedgie.
It's like the specifics are, but also like, we're all lost. None of us know anything, and even if we do, we're probably wrong, and it could change tomorrow. Like,
yeah,
cut
and
yourself a break.
my own point is that
everybody cut yourself a break. That's like my
your
advice.
age, but you're so much younger than you give yourself credit for being, that you think you're some old bag that like passed life by. And
that's
again,
a hot bag, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I make the joke about it when I'm always like, oh, my chick's old and barren. It's like, what? It's like, it's a joke. It's
Yeah,
like,
of course,
you know.
You can only say that because it's not true. It's like one of those things where you like make fun of your friend because you know you love them and they're like awesome.
Anyway, we got to get out of here. But my point is for Tasha, don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of looking stupid. Some of the best photos she takes are like just like these ugly laughter. She's like laughing through her throat, like you know. It's like, you think it's like,
I want to see some of that.
Yeah, but it's like, it's insane to me that you would even look at yourself and not want to post that. Like, I just say fire away. That's all. And then for Jess, keep writing. Cute. I know Jess wants to have us in one of her projects.
Oh yeah, it's something I sent to Dave probably like 6 months ago, so I'll send it again.
I haven't read it yet.
It's real dumb. It's called Sunscreen Slip and Slide, and you guys are just gonna slide down a slip and slide with a bunch of sunscreen on it, but you're going to come out on top, and I am not. It's an invention.
So we get to look sexy and cool.
I'll explain in the script. It's an invention. It's a great invention. So,
and where can people find? What do you got going on? Where do people find you on Instagram? Or
on Instagram at Jess for a minute.
Just for a minute, and then we'll take a photo so people can.
Yeah,
find us.
And I've got the pro-choice thing going on. At the Hollywood Hotel every Tuesday. Come see me hosting there.
So we'll put
comedy,
the
open mic and show.
Pro-choice. It's a T-shirt or a sweatshirt, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll put that merchandise in the description so you can go find that. And then it's at Jess for a minute. Tasha's at Tasha Courtney. I'm at D Neals, DNEALZ. I do have to promote our Patreon before we go. We just did, and Jess, please do our next Mimosa stand-up show. Would you do it? Oh
hell yeah, I'd love to.
I don't have the date yet. It's going to be somewhere mid-June, but we do it every month. Down. We do this Mimosa stand-up show. If you listeners have listened at all over the last 6 months, you know about it. It's been a blast. This last month was our best one yet. For our Patreon folks, that episode is live. We recorded the last stand-up show. Awesome. And posted it on our Patreon. It's patreon.com/thesap, THESAP. We've got a small but loyal following. We want to keep that growing. There's so much content on the Patreon. We've got episodes. Pretty much every week we're releasing new content. So we have an hour and 45-minute stand-up show. Funniest stand-up comedians I know. Just fucking killers. It was a blast. We've got we had musical comedy on it. It was amazing. And then we've got our Friday episodes where it's just either me doing a solo episode or just Tasha and myself. Super personal stuff that we don't necessarily share with the public. So it's all on our Patreon. If you have, and again, people that listen, we've got our friends in Iowa, right? We got Iowa listening, and they're all over. Vic, Kyle, Oz, we love you guys. Our Patrons are such amazing, supportive people. Kylie's out there, and Kaya. Fuck.
Lots of K's.
Yeah, there's a lot of K's. Anyway, the point is that a lot of people, some people that have signed up, they go, oh, geez, I didn't know how to do it, but I just figured it out. I know it's a lot that I ask for, that you get out your credit card and you sign up for Patreon. It's super easy. It's an app. Just go to Patreon, Patreon, patreon.com, and you download the app, and it's just a way for you to support us directly and get more content. Because I would never want to ask people for things, with nothing in return, but we've done 338 episodes for free, and now they've got extra bonus content that's out there, so people can go get that. Anything you want to say about that, Tasha?
Nope.
It's been a blast, right?
Yeah, it's been really cool.
We've done it for 3 months now. It's just fucking crazy to think that people because it's it's cheaper to just go sign up for Hulu and watch whatever fucking shit that they have. You know what I mean? But they know they're directly sponsoring us and getting more content out of it. So for all of our new people that sign up, we send them a handwritten postcard. That's and then nice. they get as soon as I release things, whether it's new photos or whatever. And again, so it's at least 4 to 6 hours of content a month. As soon they're just, that's just for them, and it's just, I don't know, it's cool. I'm glad we finally signed up to do it. But of course, I'm still trying to build it because I know we're at about 1% of our listeners have signed up. And I think they say generally 3% is like the good place to be. So if you can get 3 out of every 100 of your listeners to sign up. And I know I listen to a ton of podcasts. I know they don't. I know I haven't signed up for any of the people and I don't support them. So I get it that it's easy to just listen to the free shit. But just so you know, it does go to like a specific place and we do appreciate it. And I feel like I'm hosting a telethon now. But anyway, it's important.
Gonna keep dreaming about that Airstream and taking this show on the road.
Well, that's the thing is like we're not trying to do crazy shit. We're literally trying to do live shows on the road and
That's
just get it to a
awesome.
following where we can take out the RV and go do some live shows and do some stand up and also like have our friends on. Like when we have people that are Patreon listeners or just podcast listeners in general, when they come out to our live mimosa shows, it's
awesome.
fucking
It's so cool.
amazing.
That's awesome.
They come to the shows.
I bet that's like so fulfilling and just like
Yeah, it's
like,
wild.
yeah.
And then we have podcast guests on. Last show, Raquel Pomplun, she was Playmate of the Year. She had audience fans come. And
wow.
Leo, who was last episode, 2 episodes ago, he was on Bachelorette. He had fans come to support them. And it's like, I would rather just build a community where people come see all of my friends kill it, you know? And the shows are already awesome. It's a tiny venue that we do the mimosa show. So like those are already fun. If you live far away and you can't make it to them in person and at least be, you know, part of the backstage community on Patreon. So anyway, that's all I'll say about promoting that. Did I leave anything else on the table? Are we good?
No,
We figured it all out. I have to pee so bad.
Me
Me
too.
too. We all have to pee.
We're all gonna pee
We're
together.
very full bladders.
Jess Mulder, Tasha Cordy,
Thank you
I'm
guys so
Dave
much for
Neal.
having me.
Thank you guys so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.
I gotta pee.
Go for it.